have some numbers generating there. Not going to go into anything for numbers for a countdown. My name is Bruce. These are my hands. And to my right is the ever lovely Janet from another planet doing her little cosplay as Pris. Items that she found around her house.
Yeah.
How are you tonight, Janet?
Good.
Excellent.
How are you?
I am great. I made a couple of pizzas today, so I did food prep for the week. Yay!
That looks pretty yummy. What you showed me.
Yeah. All part of the plan. So this week we are reviewing one of my favorite memories from growing up as a child and my adulthood. And gosh, how do I say this? Like, I love this movie.
I love it. Well, that was great.
It is. It is a great movie. I love Blade Runner. When I was a young kid, we had the movie on VHS, and I'd watch it probably once a year, maybe twice a year. Then there'd be the time where I go to my friend Eric's house. We talk about my life before the age of 12. Eric was a friend of the family who he really wasn't that much of a friend of the family. He had problems. One of those guys that he had the situation where he had to go off to a child's home because he just had things in his head that needed to be fixed. And he still lives there in his town, or in the house where he lived, where he grew up, and just doesn't take good care of himself. But we watched a lot of sci-fi movies with him. Before we get into this, let's go through the chat real quick and say hi and welcome in. Our friend Six Nation 31 Kings top comment says, "Evening, ladies and gents, lurkers and newcomers. Hope y'all had a wonderful New Year's Day. Tonight's going to kick off 2024 right. Dystopian sci-fi goodness." Travis J 1975. Hey kids. Hey Travis. Janet, thanks people. Conroy Riker.
I had bladder. I had bladder up there, so I was in a hurry. He's making fun of me.
I was waiting on me. Sorry. Thank you, Soy Base Jeremy. Thank you for the first like. They agree. And Conroy sees you're that replicant. Got button hooked. Oh, wrong channel. Janet looks awesome. Yes, she does.
Thank you.
Is this a Lady Ballers episode? That was a couple weeks back. Great show, though, and recommend we'll watch again. And our friend LDG at Free the Net, the Prometheus Project, says, "Evening and Happy New Year's." Janet, what year did you see Blade Runner? When did you see it?
I'm trying to remember. I think I saw it at the movie theater. Because I remember seeing it in the theater.
Okay.
Just don't remember if it was, at the cheap theater, later on, or if it was, I think it was pretty busy. It was pretty full.
I
did go see the other movie first. The Thing. So it was weeks later, not when it first came out.
Yeah, this movie had a hell of a contest whenever it came out. Blade Runner had to face off against E.T. and The Thing. I don't think there's a way for that to end up well for anybody except for the Spielberg audience.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't.
But yeah, I thought it was really, really good. I thought the special effects were excellent. I thought the acting was good. And he's coming off of, I think Raiders of the Lost Ark had come out the year before, right?
I think so.
So, but you know what? He looked younger in this movie than he did in Raiders.
He looks younger because of the haircut.
Maybe. I don't know why, but he just looked younger to me. That's why I thought, well, they must have filmed it way earlier and then just released it later. or something, you know, because that does happen.
See that? I could definitely see that.
So, but maybe because they paired him up with Sean Young, it made him appear younger.
I really like her. I
Mhm.
mean, just as a viewer, just as a fan, she did great in this movie with her part, although they didn't really give her a whole lot. Her character is really much a blank slate.
Yeah, because she doesn't even know who she is. She thinks she's just going in for a job interview,
Mm-hmm.
and then she finds out that she's being interviewed to see if she's a replicant, because she can understand what they're talking about when they're talking about her. So that would be kind of hard for you to accept. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To think that you had a whole life and then find out, you know, in a few hours interview that you're not even a human being, that you were never born. That would be really sad. So I had a lot of sympathy for her character, and the fact that she could even cry. So I guess you'd have to be able to have tears and stuff to have a special test to find out if you're a replicant. I mean, after one thing that I did think was kind of stupid after we watched it again, after I saw them freeze that little old man to death,
Mm-hmm.
the eyeball guy, and him be able to put his hand in that,
That liquid ice.
yeah, the liquid, whatever that's called again. When he put his hand in there, it didn't do anything to him. So to test if someone's a replicant, all you'd have to do is put them in hot, extreme hot or cold, and you would be able to know. So to me, going through the whole psychological test was kind of stupid, especially if he's a cop and he's just going to kill him, you know? So I thought it was kind of stupid. Because if you put them in cold environment like they did the old man, if you got them warmed up in time, they wouldn't die. But if their temperature started dropping and stuff, then you would know they were a human. You know what I mean? So that kind of really made me feel bad when that hit me, and I realized that was how easy the test could have been. It wasn't as intriguing anymore. You know what I mean?
No.
It took that away from it.
It's interesting the way this movie starts off, because we get to meet Leon and just an interviewer named Holden.
Mm-hmm.
And Holden, poor guy, he doesn't last long in this movie. Morgan Paul, the actor who played him,
Yeah,
he just recently passed. So it's
he was the first interviewer, right?
Yeah, he's the interviewer. And
yeah,
the main thing he was ever known. Go ahead.
I said he looked very familiar to me, but I couldn't remember what I'd seen him in. You know what I mean? Because he wasn't a huge name actor that's in lots of stuff.
He did a lot of Broadway, from what I'm pulling up here, and then he was in Patton as Captain Jensen. He was in Dirty O'Neill as Jimmy O'Neill. He was in The Last Hard Men as Portuguese Shiraz. Twilight's Last Gleaming as first Louis Cornelis. First Louis. The Swarm, which and then he was in Norma Ray. And then he was in Faded Black and then Blade Runner. There's a couple other movies that are in there I skipped, but he did a lot of films till 86, and that's kind of where things kind of stopped for him. He lived to be how old? Age 67. He died in 2012.
Oh, he was only 67 when he died?
He was young.
Yeah, that's not very old.
The guy still had some stuff, and he played primarily either military or law enforcement characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was funny is because I remember how excited I was about getting to go see The Thing. My mom was like, "You're psycho."
So,
because I always liked such gory movies and stuff. So my dad, I think I went with my dad and one of my sisters, because my other sisters weren't really into sci-fi stuff. But I was really surprised when you told me that they came out on the same weekend, but I don't really remember being out. I just remember how excited I was about going to see The Thing.
Yeah, I want to say it was the exact same weekend. Let me pull it up and just ascertain.
But because I really like sci-fi stuff, so
I know.
Alien,
So
anything,
June 25th,
anything to do with that.
June 25th in 1982 for The Thing, June 25th, 1982 for Blade Runner, and fucking E.T.
Yeah.
We know where everybody's money was going to.
I didn't see E.T. until it came out on
VHS.
Was it VHS that it came out on first? Yeah, I think that was my mom had gotten it from my youngest sister, so she could see it.
Yeah, I really like both of those movies, Blade Runner and The Thing. Today I watched the theatrical cut of the Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And
was it better than what we watched?
It had less holes in it.
Oh, less gaps.
I'm gonna make some people upset today, and I don't want to go out and explicitly do that, but it's going to happen. I like the theatrical version of this movie much more than the final cut or the director's cut. Before I go into that, well, I'll go into this. Let me start this comment because I want to talk about this later. Hey, Admiral T, how you doing? It's Ruben, Christopher Haynes, Tree Rock Creations. Tree Rock, how you doing? Thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Okay. Holden gets waxed by Leon, and then everything just stops, and then we basically get to meet our friend Rick Deckard, which he never is addressed by his name Rick. It's always Deckard.
Well, it's because he's a cop, and isn't that typical?
Mostly for cops, mostly for law enforcement. There's some bleed between the two, especially if you're a devil dog. Seems like the last name becomes your only name. And so, Deckard is there on the street level of the city, trying to just get some food. Gaff comes up, and Gaff, played by Edward James Olmos, in one of his most defining roles, I think.
Yeah.
He absolutely just comes up behind him and it's like, hey, I need you, come on. And he doesn't really, he plays like he doesn't understand him, but he understands him. They're doing the city speak, which is an Edward James Olmos invention for the film.
Yeah, it was basically, he said he took different words from different cultures or whatever in the city and mixed them together to kind of throw them together to make his own speech, because he figured that's what would happen in the future, which is now, which was a few years ago, 2019, which was really cool.
Yeah, or I'm missing the giant floating blimps of the ladies doing ASMR sucking on cherries.
Well, if there was one thing I found about one of the blimps, and it looked like the Falcon ship from Star Wars that Harrison Ford was in, and they made comments about it. That was one of the trivia things that I found about that. And the whole thing about the woman eating cherries, it was on a giant screen, like the big TVs that they have in New York City and stuff. So I thought that was interesting. But basically, I think that the billboards and stuff showing people eating fruit and stuff like that was showing you that, they're better than you because they can afford to get real fruits and vegetable seeds that you probably wouldn't be able to eat.
And who even knows if those are real cherries? Because everything in this 2019 has been damn near eradicated. In the novel, they talk about how the owls were the first of the birds to pretty much become extinct of the modern day avians. And so that's why the focus on the cinematography for the owl was so prevalent.
Yeah, and the fact that the actress that had the snake,
Diane
and
Cassidy plays
they
Laura.
asked her about that because that was her snake, her pet snake.
That's her snake called Darlene.
Yeah,
I sent you a
because
message in private chat, by the way, Janet.
do what?
I just sent you a message in
Oh.
the Discord. Um, the fun thing about that is that, you know, everybody's kind of on this set, kind of getting weirded out. There's this woman with a snake on her shoulder.
Mhm.
What are we doing? You know, and they're like, no, it's fine. It's her snake.
Yeah, because you could tell by Harrison Ford, even though supposedly it wasn't a real snake, when the one part where he's putting his hand around it and stuff, you could kind of tell that he was kind of nervous to be around the snake, even though mostly, well, they do bite. You know, boa constrictors do bite. But I thought that was kind of interesting when I read about it, that it was her snake and she wasn't afraid of it and he was.
I was okay
I hope
with
they
that.
paid her well because she was totally topless and everything in that for a very long period of time for that scene.
And it's kind of weird because the theatrical cut shows a little bit more boob than what the cut we watched last night.
Uh-huh.
So the theatrical cut, I mean, if you're just a person that really enjoys cute ladies and boobs, the theatrical cut's your way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's superior for you. For me, it is. That's not the main reason. It's a nice reason, but it's not the main reason. I like how I'm about probably to get booted off YouTube here, but I like the narration because the narration does give you an aspect of the movie that otherwise you have to have exterior knowledge of final or director's cut to understand what's going on or to at least see another perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that, then that's like half the movie. Janet, in your Discord, is that a yes or no?
Sure.
Okay, let me.
I shook my head when I read it after you said it. I thought you knew that's what I meant.
I wasn't looking.
Sorry. It's okay. Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
So I've got to say that the movie loses something when you take the narration out. The performance of the narration is absolute ass.
Mm-hmm.
I love the film every bit as I could, but I have to be realistic whenever we talk about it that Harrison Ford was not giving his all with the narration. And if we can at least acknowledge that, we're okay. I want to dissect this movie kind of two separate ways because I want to rate the theatrical cut a little different than the final cut, and there's reasons for that.
Well, I haven't seen the whatever cut that you watched last night. I guess the director's. So yeah, so I didn't see that one, so I can't really give you my opinion on the narration and stuff.
Six Nations, check your Discord.
So,
good to see you.
Know, but yeah, but I trust your opinion on it.
Well, I want to rate it in two different ways. I know you weren't there with me to watch the theatrical cut, but I'm going to, and you don't have to join in on that. You can just rate what we watched last night. Deckard is given a job that he doesn't want. And he's like,
well, he wasn't really given a job. They kind of forced him into it.
Voluntold.
Yeah.
The military term for that's voluntold. I like her. I could watch her the rest of my life. She has breasts that smile. Yeah. It's things like that. And that's kind of what happens in the actual movie itself. Deckard has this like hard ass Mickey Splain type delivery that really works. And he says, and a lot of people say, well, this is garbage, you know. Well, the narration is kind of mostly bad, like the very end narration. I could have gone without that for another 30 seconds, just staring at the dead corpse of Rutger Hauer. But as soon as Rutger Hauer puts his eyes down, there he is, just there's the ADR, and they're forcing us on him. Hey, Six Nations, how you doing, sir?
Because I thought he was going to join us already.
All right.
I said that
Here we
earlier.
go.
Okay.
Yeah, I was dicking around with a quote from the novel about boobs, so it took me a moment.
You guys, men and boobs.
Yeah, the thing is that the N word is just a word. You can call me a doggo or dago, however you want to pronounce it, and I don't go out and burn down a Wendy's. But yet you use what you have there implied, and a Wendy's gets burned in Kenosha. Or I mean, you could say something like, well, he was killed by a police officer. No, that's just a fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I like the original narration because it adds that, even though it adds that miserable word that some people are just like, oh my God, you said it. Yeah, I said it. Knee. I like the fucking hard edge. And when you deal with people at the worst part of their life, like law enforcement does, you're probably not going to have a good opinion of most people out there.
You're going to be a bitter, empty prick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyhow.
Well, is the narration, like you were saying, is it through like almost every scene of the movie? Or is it his thoughts?
It's mainly his thoughts.
Deckard's thoughts?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like Dune, where they did a lot of internal dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to.
Well, not exactly, but kind of similar.
Mm-hmm.
But like I just I refuse to Koto, I mean, I like what Bryant said, and I like the fact that Deckard goes with that extra level of narrations, like he uses the word skin job. In the old days, it'd be like a cop who said, I'm going to take this nigger in. And that's all it is. If somebody burns down a Wendy's because I said that, you're a loser. Not me. The individual got upset that word was even uttered. You're a loser. So they shut down, conversation. Deckard starts to leave, and Bryant's like, you're little people. You don't matter. I need what you can do. I don't care what you feel like. You're going to do this job. And so they sit down and they watch, but Bryant, in both versions, there's a fuck up on the script.
Mm-hmm.
Bryant mentions that there's 6 replicants.
Mm-hmm.
And Bryant mentions that one of the replicants fries himself at the fence when they're trying to get in. And then the other 5 disappear. And they talk about how you've got to go get Chris, Zora, Leon, and Roy Batty. And he gives a brief description for all of them. Well, that's 6 replicants that he mentioned first, but he doesn't mention Rachel. This is a mess up within the script. It's supposed to be 5 replicants because Rachel, from what I'm able to read on everything, Rachel did not escape to there.
Yeah,
Rachel,
she never left.
She never left
Earth.
She came off the assembly line and they wheeled her into Tyrell's abode so he could have his niece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's where the script messes up first. But it's not a big screw up. That's just kind of simple, like somebody that really doesn't have,
That's more of editing.
Yeah,
I would say that was an editing mistake.
Dictation, I think this is where it fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they do that, and off he goes.
Well, see, that's why you have a script. You have a script supervisor. Okay, a script supervisor is the one who's in charge to print out the small scripts that they hand out to every person that's going to be involved in a scene. And they give, each person their sides, and then they're supposed to know what they're supposed to be using in that scene that they're filming that day. or two different scenes or wherever it is. And then at the end of the day, any changes that were made, the script supervisor is supposed to make changes in that. That way,
What up, Boots?
at the end, when they hand everything over and the editor has it, then he knows everything that's supposed to be said in each scene. So when they edit it and somebody says something that's not in that, they're supposed to be able to edit that out, things like that. So that's why they have a lot of, they just do the free air, there's no sound, and they'll start to film before so that they can add small seconds here or there of the ambiance in the rooms or the outdoors or wherever it is that they're filming before and after. So they always have extra seconds to add in if there's a blooper or a mistake, to try to edit to where it's not such a big thing. If it's really big and the editing group can't fix it, then they bring you back in and reshoot a scene or two. That's why they take photographs on set and things like that, to make sure the car looks this way, the makeup or the tattoo or the hairstyle, their clothes or whatever it is, so that they can put it all together and redo that whole scene. So that's why all that's so important. They do all that for mistakes. So at the end, if the editing's shit, it's because they just had a bad editor.
That's what I think it was, because reading through everything again, they mention it 6 in there. Rachel's not verbally discussed by Bryant. The first mention of Rachel in scripting is when he gets to Tyrell's. And Eldon says, "I'd like you to see the test fail first." And so he has them administer it to Rachel. So he does like this huge test for the void comp stuff. And
well, another thing that I had a hard time, that I didn't pick up on, when I first saw it, maybe the second time I didn't notice it, but this was the 4th time I'd seen it. And I really noticed it a lot. And it's probably because I was really looking for everything wrong. You know what I mean? I hate to do that, but I was just trying to look, is the fact that they made all the replicants have that shiny eye. And if it was that obvious too, they wouldn't have to go through all the psychological tests and stuff too. So little mistakes like that I didn't like. It took away from me being intrigued by the movie and not knowing who's who, you know what I mean? So when they made it that obvious, the whole testing was stupid. Just that guy died for nothing, because they already knew he was a replicant by looking at his eyes, and if he could stick his hand in hot boiling water and not get burned, you know what I mean? There was simpler ways to do the test quickly instead of having to take all this time, unless the tests that they were doing were for psychological testing for the company itself. But these people had escaped. That means they were already out doing stuff that they were supposed to be doing. So why are they doing a test on them again? You see, I don't know. I just had a lot of holes started coming out, like I always find when I start looking into it and going back and thinking about the scenes and little notes that I'd taken about this, that, and the other that I didn't pick up on before. So that kind of like this, it put it.
This is where the line between the novel and the movie kind of get fuzzy, because like, okay, I got like 3 pages of notes and they're all jumbled as hell, but basically, like to paraphrase it, the only similarities between the film and the book are androids pose a threat to human existence, the human population. The key characters share the same names, and the Earth is becoming uninhabitable due to over industrialization and whatnot. In the film, in the novel, it was World War Terminus, their term for like World War III or whatever. It was like a nuclear holocaust, poisoned the Earth, killed off a good portion of the animals. That's why in the film, real live animals are super expensive, because they're rare to find. Everybody has like artificial robot versions of it. And then there's the dust in the novel, which makes humans infertile. It affects their mind. Like the character Sebastian, J.R. Sebastian, like in the film, he plays a engineer of sorts. In the novel, he's a ambulance driver, and he's kind of affected mentally. Like, basically, humanity is in decline. That's why the majority of them took off to colonize other planets and do space stations and whatnot, because Earth got totally screwed up. The poor schmucks that got left behind have to deal with the aftermath. And so they produce these androids, which they call Andes for short in the novel. But they're replicants in the movie. And, they're doing all the menial tasks and everything you could possibly imagine an android could do that a human couldn't do or wouldn't want to be doing. So, yeah, I'm getting lost here because I don't want to do a full information dump.
Yeah, because for anyone who watched the movie, though, and hadn't read any of the books, okay, they wouldn't understand a lot of that. They would only have to go with the details that are given to them, during the movie. So,
yeah. So,
so they probably wouldn't even notice certain things. Like I said, when I was watching, I was trying not to add anything to it. So I would not know any details and trying to watch it as a fresh mind, just trying to absorb what's going on. Like I was talking about why I didn't think that he was a replicant himself. To me, why it separated the whole thing, because everybody was saying the director said he was. I go, yeah, but that's after you've seen the movie. I'm talking about when you review it, you're talking about exactly what you're seeing on screen, not the book, not any of the other details.
All these notes that I have that pertain to the differences between the novel and the film, I want to kind of like dump that at the end of the discussion of the movie.
Okay. That's fine, but like what I was saying about when you get to first meet Pris, when she shows up at Sebastian's giant hotel, basically, and she's sitting there, covers herself with garbage. You think that, why is she doing that? She can't get cold, right? So then I'm like, oh, it's a ploy for her to be able to look like an innocent rat person that lives in the alleys or whatever else, and she's just lonely, scared, doesn't have anywhere to go, basically, to get him to fall for her. She's pretty. That's what her supposed robot was made for, as a pleasure bot, right? But that's what I didn't like about it once they got more detailed into Pris's character, because she's doing all this acrobatic stuff. And I'm like, what is she, like Harley Quinn? I was like thrown back by it, because it changed my perception of it. Because when I'd first seen the movie, I didn't even think twice about it. But each time I've watched it, the little bit more details have come out that I thought kind of took away from the actual story. The Harrison Ford character, to me, still, I couldn't nitpick it enough, because there wasn't anything really for me to take away from anything that he did, because I felt like everything he did was the right thing from my perspective as a person absorbing the information from the movie. So the fact that Pris did all these things, to me, it was like they just put her in there because they wanted something young and sexy and attractive, basically a mate for the lead robot.
We'll go into that a little bit later too, because there's some definite connotations that you could read between both theatrical and final cut.
Yeah.
There's like, if all it was just loneliness, like Deckard shouldn't have like worried about his penis that much. It's gone for a pleasure bot. I'm gonna take this fleshlight out for a spin. This toaster, it talks to me.
Well, the thing is, Rachel's character wasn't a pleasure bot. She was at the very
Alexa,
top.
orgasm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was higher than the other guy was. She was the highest on the food chain when it came to replicants.
I absolutely adore Sean Young. Okay. I mean, her YouTube channel is fun to watch because she'll put stuff out there that, you haven't seen before, like her fucking personal film from when she was in Mexico filming Dune. And
Mhm.
I think that is a really like cool actor or actress that will do that.
Mhm.
She was absolutely lovely back in the 80s, and she's still a lovely lady now, kind of like Miss Erin Gray is from our childhood Buck Rogers. But
Mhm.
I've got to say that um, her and Harrison Ford had no chemistry in this movie at all. Like watching those
Sadly.
two make out was like watching the lovely
See,
Queen
I
Padme
saw it totally
make out
different.
with Anakin
To
Skywalker.
me, the awkwardness was because she'd never done anything like that before. She
We
didn't
could
really know how
pretend
to act. And the fact that he knows that she's a replicant and he doesn't really know how he's supposed to, he's like trying to figure out how he's supposed to dive in. You know what I mean?
when I
So
was
that, to me, I thought they did a great job at the awkwardness about what it would be like to actually realize that one day you're a human, the next day you're a robot, and then she's sad because she's realizing she doesn't have a life. And then he's realizing that he has some type of weird feelings for somebody that isn't even human, So to me, the whole romance between the two of them I thought that it was really good. I mean, I wasn't turned off by it at all, even though this was the fourth time I've seen it. I understood it each time. I've understood it a little bit better, and I thought that it was very romantic to me.
I've had hornball experiences in my life, and I was a horny teenager once, and I mean, I can tell you that a virgin will rip the skin off of you to get the orgasm going. And that's all I'm going to say. Like, Sean Young and him should not have been paired together. I love them both as actors. I probably don't like them as people just for their voting tendencies, but I'm just going to say that watching those two make out was like watching Mannequin and uh and Padme. All she needed to do at the end of it was like, I don't like sand. And we could have had a perfect Star Wars prequel because that was so fucking lifeless watching those two try to neck and make out. And Harrison Ford kind of drinking a little bit. Maybe he's drinking on set. He's pretending to drink. So he's beating on walls and he throws her around a bit. And then she freaks out after the camera's shut down. So he's got to pull his pants down and moon her and be like, hey, Sean Young, if I really didn't like you, would I show you my vulnerable white ass? And she's like, oh, I guess not. But they
He was, I think he was what? How old was he in this movie when
He
he
was in
made?
his late 30s, I think, or
Yeah,
mid
because
mid
Rutger
early 30s,
Hauer was 38.
I want to say 40s.
He looked damn good.
maybe
So,
early 40s.
Yeah,
so, and how old was she?
she was young.
Okay, she was younger, so she was awkward already. The fact that she's in a movie with a famous actor, basically
She's
two of them, and the fact that she was trying to pretend like she was an innocent robot. It just
23.
so I don't know.
She doesn't
To
know she's
me
a robot
that
yet.
didn't take away from the movie for me at all. I
And
was
he was 41 when this
okay, yeah.
movie came out. He was, yeah, he was 40 when the movie
So
came
he
out.
was old enough to be her dad.
Mhm, exactly. And
So
that's part of the reason why I've never once thought like this is a good pairing. Because like you look at him and he's probably hitting that blue pill age, and she's like looking like a flower, like ready for the spring, ready for the bloom. And that was one of the things I just didn't really like. I've never liked that aspect of it. I never thought it was really that good. This quote right here from Teague: "They kiss without passion because they're not human." She doesn't know she's not human yet. She's she's got to figure it out, and then she's
no,
still
she
coming to terms with
knew.
it.
You
She's
don't
still got to
even
come to
when she
terms with it.
left.
And
Remember when she walked
she
out,
walked
she
out.
knew she was a human or wasn't human anymore.
She's
She left her picture there.
she's still absolutely though have to come to terms with it. You don't really like, oh well,
So
I
she's
guess I'm gonna live my life like
emotional.
an android now.
She's emotional. Remember, she had tears. She's emotional. She's realizing she's not a human, that she won't ever get married and have a family. I mean,
Yeah.
she's dead. She's realizing she's dying. Okay, so to me, I can't help it. I just didn't see anything that made it not romantic To me,
Yeah.
they were both desperate. Both their lives are shit, basically, and they needed each other. So I don't know. I just think that it was I wouldn't even have liked it if he just grabbed her by the wrist and was like, you know, a little more forceful. I think would have been.
If it would have been Sean Connery, like it would have been completely within Sean Connery's character, just to give her a healthy slap around, just a healthy slap, just a little slap, just a slap across the face. Shut your whole mouth, bend over, you know, that sort of thing. I could see him doing that because he's done that in James Bond films. My bad. I just got to say that
it didn't make me cringe at all. I thought it was very, she was, even if she was a human, she was old enough, you know, she was an adult to decide whether she wanted to sleep with someone old enough to be her dad. I mean, to me, I don't have a problem with that. If two grown-ups want to have a romp, I have no problem with that, as long as they're adults. You know, they're both grown-ups. I have no problem because
Admiral Teague, dude. Seriously.
So
and then stick their hands in boiling water, Highlander style. So
I'm trying not to laugh on stream and interrupt you guys.
I mean, all I hear from guys, and remember, I'm a tomboy, so since I was in high school, most of my friends were guys, and they always talk about how they wish the hot teacher would hit on them, you know, stuff like that. So, and they're all like cougars and, you know, all that kind of stuff. They were talking about hot women they meet all the time, younger and older women. So the whole thing, this stigmatism about not liking him because he seems too forceful or he seems too old or whatever. To me, it didn't make any sense. Plus, this movie came out in 82? 83. So I don't know. I still don't have a problem with it. I mean, I think that it was perfectly fine.
I was 5 years old, so I can't really formulate an opinion on
her down and have sex
back
with
then.
her or anything. So she could have left. She was a robot. She could have knocked the shit out of him and left at any moment.
I absolutely destroyed a Betamax tape with overuse watching this movie because I just love the scene so much.
I went through one VHS tape watching the crap out of that.
Hey, Travis J, you have yourself a great night, sir. Thank you for sticking around with us for as long as you did. I think the fact that I'm not trying to trip over the fact about her romance scenes with him. I'm just saying that that's the one part of the movie where, like, I thought they should have looked at what was going on in the dailies. Sean Young is an accomplished actress, not quite yet, but Harrison Ford is, and Harrison Ford can light up a screen if he wants to, but he doesn't really turn on the charm with her. And they should have probably rewrote something, you know, just to make it more of he decided to be more like a caretaker.
But he's flat anyways. Even in all his other movies, he's flat. He doesn't really have, he's kind of a lot like Nicolas Cage. No matter what character they're kind of like, that's just who they are. They're not extra sappy or anything like that. It's just his type of character. When he was in every movie I've seen him in, he's played the same way. At least I thought.
Now I've got a ton of information that I'm just going to dump at the end because I told Janet earlier that, you know, we'll do the whole let's watch the movie for the first time type of experience, and then afterwards I will do the novelization versus movie dump.
That would be appreciative because I haven't read the novel in over 10 years.
It's been like 30 years for me, so I was like trying to dust off the memories and get rid of the crud between my ears.
I started listening to it, and I remembered how good of a writer Philip K. Dick is. There is a 4-hour cut on YouTube if you want to listen to Dwayne the Reed Stream of Electric Sheep. Let me pull that up right now.
Well, I found that piece of trivia last night that when the writer said that when he got to watch the first cut, you know, of the movie before it was edited and stuff and ready for release, that he said it was almost like some of the scenes were taken directly out of his head. that to him when he was writing it, that's what it looked like. So they did a pretty good job, and some of the things they had to have, if the writer himself said that's what the scene looked like. I'm the writer for the script.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah, you gotta realize like the whole cyberpunk genre didn't really kick off till like the mid '80s. Like there's been things here and there, but to actually like create a movie and then have it reflect what the writer of the novel or whatever the source material is, go, hey, that was like exactly what I was thinking of. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
that's spot on.
So so there were just a few things like that I just thought were really good, and the whole thing with the origami that Amos did throughout the movie. A lot of people were saying that was because he could read Deckard's mind because he already knew what he was and all that. And I'm like, nobody knew any of that. Nobody knew any of that.
Including,
that was later.
Okay, I guess we go to spoiler territory at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, because I watched a lot of Blade Runner in the last 2 days. And in all the documentary filming and all the making of specials I saw, which some of them were just repeats of the one I watched before, nobody talked about how Deckard's a fucking replicant.
That's what I said.
That's strictly a Ridley Scott thing.
Everybody else
but that
involved in the movie was
way
like, no,
later.
Ridley, don't do that.
That's what I said. So you can't. All that stuff about him being a replicant came out way later. I was
that's all film theory
from
later on.
Just the movie as if I'd never seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I never thought that he was a replicant.
It never
Even though he had the dream about the unicorn and stuff, that was just a unicorn is something you find that's an anomaly. There's only one of them. They'll probably never see another one in the rest of your life. And basically, when he did that, when he went there to kill the girl,
symbolism.
Yeah, he went there to kill the girl because he knew Deckard wasn't gonna do it, right? And when he went, he realized, well, I can't kill her because she's gonna die soon anyways. Why not let him have her? She's harmless. She saved his life. All these different things. So when he left the unicorn there on the ground and she kicked it with her foot and he saw it and picked it up, he knew that he'd been there to kill her and he let him have her. See, I just thought that was very romantic and it was sweet because it kind of gave them a reprieve to their horrible lives, basically, that they both had, and they needed each other. And I thought it was very romantic and sweet. But I guess it's because I'm a girl or whatever. I don't know, but that's what I felt from it. And I remember having similar feelings the first time I got to watch it about their relationship. So to me, it was a little awkward, but it was just like when you have you first meet someone and you have feelings, like I said, in that one little thing I made, when that tingling sensation you get is your common sense leaving your body because you just kind of go, wow, I really like this person. They make my heart patter, my hands are sweating and I want to kiss them, but that'd be too forward. You're thinking all these things and basically she doesn't know she's not a human, before she met him. So all those feelings that are programmed in her are just like that as a human woman would have about wanting something. But now she's mad at him because he's the one that just told her she's not even a human being. So she's got this battle going on in this small amount of time that we have to see it. And then he has the same thing. He's sexually attracted to this woman. He thinks he's falling in love with her because she's like no woman he's ever met in his life. But he found out she's a robot, So it's like they're both in this traumatic energy going on around them, but they're both very attracted to each other. So I just thought it was great. I thought that to me, that's how it came across to me when I watched it.
The international version doesn't have the narration. And that's one of the ones that was popularized. We didn't see it in the States until 1991. That was fed to a lot of blockbusters, I believe. Mm-hmm. Blockbuster was a Peoria of test markets. And when people started enjoying Blade Runner because it didn't have narration, they made, oh, yeah, we're going to gonna do that. So that was like one of the first DVDs you could buy was the Blade Runner director's cut.
Yeah, I didn't see Blade Runner on Laserdisc till my friend got it in the mid '90s, and I thought that was freaking epic.
Mhm.
And now it looks like crap compared to like 4K and Blu-ray and all that. Hilarious.
I love the movie. I love both versions of the movie. There's just like some things I don't like about the movie. But the script, the sixth replicant mention from Bryant, I can forgive that because that's just a small editing error.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are 6 replicants here. Well, yeah, there are, but Rachel was never off world. She'd been shipped from the assembly line back to Eldon's office, and she was to be his assistant so he could spend time with his niece because he wanted his niece in his life. And I can understand that. I completely get that. At the age of 49, or age 48, you've seen plenty of your family members get taken from you. And so, like, I could see where somebody that's over the hill is like, I can make my niece. And then he starts putting that together where, like, he does his own little private Frankenstein project with all the company equipment. I can completely see it. But the fight between Leon and Deckard.
He's like
Deckard
a more
was
clinical version of Elon Musk, if you think about it.
Say again?
He's a more clinical version of Elon Musk.
Yeah, he is. And actually, Elon Musk's clinical side is going to come out in a few years.
Complex too, from what what came across.
Yeah, that Neuralink stuff that he's working on.
Yep.
I think is going to be what kicks us into the dystopian Blade Runner-esque future.
I'm looking forward to it.
But you know, they have been working on stuff like that because I remember after Christopher Reeve got bucked off that horse and broke his back, broke his neck basically, and made him paralyzed. That all the different interviews and stuff that his wife went on because she was doing everything she could to try to help him, right? Because she wanted him to be whole again, and she loved him. I mean, everything she did to what I watched was she just adored him and loved him. Was trying to do everything she could for him. But they were talking about different things that they were trying to do, experimental, to regrow nerves, stimulation using robots. I mean, all kinds of nanotechnology. They talked about tons of different things. So
stem cells, you name it.
So whatever
they could
Elon's doing about wanting to put chips inside people's brains or whatever it is, if a person willingly wants to do that, you know, to me, I don't have a problem with it. If they think it's going to help them, especially the people that I think are going to be first in line to do something like that are going to be the ones that are paralyzed. That all they want to do is get their limbs back.
As an avid fan of the cyberpunk genre and a player of Cyberpunk 2020,
maybe
cyberpsychosis is a serious thing. And if we ever get to the point where people start borging out to the point where they start losing their humanity, and then they go fucking rage,
look where we are right now.
That could be a problem.
You have young people cutting off their boobs, cutting off their testicles, and having their penis pulled inside their body to make a vagina.
But they're not killer robots. That's the thing.
Yeah, the thing is, they're mutilating their bodies, just like the movie Escape from L.A. All those people in that one part that were all mutilating themselves with plastic.
What I'm getting at, though, is that we're still squishy, and you take a 44 to somebody's face, you're going to stop them. But if they're borged out and bulletproof, like holy crap, it's going to be like Ed 209 versus
talking about
Bambi.
that, the Winter Soldier and stuff like that. We've been the Bionic Man. We've had tons of stuff happening through our lives talking about working towards something like that. Star Trek, when different people had like Geordie's eyes.
Old fashioned, but I believe blowing ourselves up and gassing ourselves is way better than turning into machines and letting the nukes fly.
Well,
I'd rather have conventional warfare and conventional problems than some far-fetched, super uber technology that could make it 100 times worse.
But we're already doing it. What I'm saying is every single thing we're doing that takes your body and transforms it into something else. You're doing something to it to like getting a new hip or a new hand or whatever it is that you're doing. They're growing body parts like the cartilage for a new nose and your ear under your skin, and then they'll take it and they'll put it back, give you a brand new ear with your own skin over it. So, and then they're using pig veins to redo arteries in the heart. Okay, because pigs' skin and muscles and stuff like that are the most like human, okay, type of thing. Because I watch all these documentaries and stuff, and you can order stuff right now to do geno stuff in your backyard. There was a documentary I was watching where this guy was using DNA from those octopus and squid that glow in the dark, way down deep, 2,000.
The cuttlefish and all that.
And they're putting it into bulldogs, these pit bull dogs that he had in his backyard, to make the dogs glow, stuff like that. And he's doing DNA with animals in his backyard with stuff he got over the internet. So,
well, there's ethical science, and then there's the shit that we're reading on the internet of all these weird ass companies that are doing cloning of pets and whatnot.
But people are doing it already. People are already genetically modifying embryos and stuff in other countries.
And there's nothing that I can do to stop that. So, if they want to fucking destroy themselves in that way, that's cool.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. So we have to
stay in my corner.
Be careful. We have to be careful about what
I'm
we
gonna
do ourselves.
Rally the wagons, circle them, and stay away from that shit. So that's all I got to say about that.
But that's what I was saying about these two characters. Where do we stop? If we're willing, they already have real dolls right now, right?
That's the dystopian aspect of it. The world is broken.
Yep.
From both perspectives, humanity is in decline. The world is fucked. We've destroyed everything.
That's why when he kills the guy that made these replicants, I was kind of like wanting to, because that's the problem. If we get rid of people like that and we don't let them do these psychoscience projects, we don't have to worry about it.
So whenever the Neuralink stuff goes in from the Tesla Corporation, and then you have the Bezos chip that gets put into the Amazon fans, the Amazonians, what are we going to do whenever members of the human species, former human species, that get chipped suddenly have a battery cook-off and their bodies hit the floor? What are we going to do? What are you guys going to do when that happens? Because that's my big question. I see black spots on San Antonio highways all the time where there was once a Tesla, and this is its monument. This piece of charred blackened glass.
You know what's going to happen? It's going to be Roger Corman's Teenage Caveman. That's what's going to happen.
Now, what I think is going to happen over time is that we're going to destroy ourselves, just like everything's leading towards that. And then the few people that are unvaccinated, haven't done anything to themselves genetically, those are the ones that are going to end up starting over again. So they can actually have more children and start all over.
By the way, anybody in chat wants to buy my blood for $20 an ounce. I'm unvaxxed.
Are you selling
totally clean? Unfortunately, no. I had to do laundry, washed all my socks. So maybe get back to me in about a week.
But it's just the thing is, to me, it makes you think about all this stuff every time we watch something like this, like what they did with the Avatar movies. Just all these movies make you think about where are our limits, where is our humanity to make sure we have limits, and we already have the technology, but how do we control who has it? Just like what they've said about when Nixon went in and had them destroy all these laboratories that had all these horrible viruses and stuff. And they, instead of destroying them, they took them and moved them out of the country. and made other labs because the CIA didn't want to get rid of them. Even though he said, "Why do we need them? We have nukes. We don't need these
Our
viruses that
free
you can make."
will.
Well, we don't need these viruses that you can make for 37 cents a person to kill. You could kill people for 37 cents each, basically, is what Nixon was talking about when he wanted that stuff destroyed in real life. Okay. This was years and years ago. Okay. So if they can kill you with like that,
Yeah, our free will has made it so that we can never really control anything. We can come up with ways to solve problems, solutions to problems, but then there's a new solution to the problem that we just solved. Like, for instance, the military. They invented firearms that took out hand-to-hand combat and archery and ballista and all that. So now we've got cannon and guns, and they're like, okay, well, now we need to build better armor. And then, in the early 20th century, we started making tanks to combat all the guns. And then we started making bombs, and it just progressed. And so we have this illusion that, like, oh, we have control over all of this. But, like, in the very beginning, we should have never fucked with this stuff in the first place. But it's human nature. We're curious, we're violent, we've got free will, so everybody's got different opinions what they want in life. And, shit happens, and this is where we're at now.
But see, that's what's so cool about these movies is that all these people that take the time to write down their thoughts about what could happen one day in the future, like Hunger Games or any of these, showing you that if we stay on this route, we could end up there. The Bible itself tells you we're heading towards the end of the world because we're driving ourselves to it by destroying humanity, basically. But what do? We still do it. It's just like I was talking about this morning, is that if Adam and Eve were in a beautiful garden with everything they could ever imagine. They had each other. They had every animal to pet and take care of. They had every fruit and vegetable. I mean, there was just everything you could possibly want.
All they had to do was keep off the grass.
No, God said there's only one thing. You're not allowed to eat the fruit off this tree. But the forbidden fruit, everybody wants what they can't have. And she was able to say, I ate some of this and it was really good and I'm fine. So you should try it. But he could have said no, but he didn't because he loved her or whatever his reason was. He went and ate it too. Well, what I'm saying is they started their own demise. And then when they had their first children, one of them killed one of the others. See? So we just have bad qualities, and we're not strong. Some of us aren't strong-willed enough.
There's a conversation in the novel, where they're talking about space travel, and it relates to books. Like, how did they know about space travel if they didn't actually do it yet? And they're like, oh, well, books. Like they just made it up. So.
Just like
it was interesting because the androids are far from perfect humans. They don't have any emotions in the or they lack empathy, I should say, in the story. So it's
the way they're described when they move around is it's kind of herky jerky sometimes. The
just
complete lack of. They're lacking the processes that humans have because we have emotions and feelings.
Yeah, it's almost like the archangels. So see, we talked about this morning. I told you in that one space, we talked about how they're jealous of the humans because humans have the right to choose what they want to do with their lives. They're not programmed to do one specific thing like these robots were. And the fact that the oldest one, which was Rutger Hauer's character, basically was realizing what he was missing out on and that he was going to end, his life was going to end and he wanted to live. So that showed that they were far more advanced than they thought they were when they created them. See, so
That's one thing that I liked about the movie was Rutger Hauer's version of Roy Batty towards the end.
Yes, and
because he did that awesome
when his hand started
monologue.
He wasn't able to control his hand. You know, and how he was trying to force himself, you know, to be able to do that. The realization that he was losing control. See, all of that was human. All of those are human qualities that he had: fear of dying, the fact that he was losing control of his own actions, okay, his reaction to that, and the fact that he was losing Pris, that when she died, you know, all these things were all human qualities, which meant he was evolving, kind of like what they did with Data in all this in the Star Trek series, right? Data, when he was taken by the Borg and she put that little tiny patch of skin on his hand and she blew on it, and he could feel the sensation of what it felt like when she touched the skin and all that, his human need of the touch of skin, that kind of thing, you know, it's humanity. Everybody wants what they can't have, basically the same thing, greed, all those things. And that's what I saw in his character, was the fact that he was evolving and he didn't want to die. And since he couldn't get the guy that made him, which was his God, basically, and his God was telling him it was impossible, that no matter what we do, it's never going to achieve the goal that you want. So he was useless to him after that. And so he let his anger take over and he kills him. So that whole scene to me was very sad, but not because the guy died, because I could care less. That guy was a scumbag. At least that's how I looked at it. And I felt sorry for Rutger Hauer's character. So he did such a good job, even though he was scary, you know, especially with the way he treated Sebastian and stuff. And he was very, very adamant about what he wanted, and he didn't care about human life, just like what you said. But in a way, he did. It wasn't human; he just cared about life in general.
Yeah, the Roy Batty of the novel, like the scene where he pulls up Deckard, and you see him, and he basically thinks like, well, my opinion in the movie, he values life more than anything, because like he's literally within minutes of dying. And I'm gonna go back in because the dogs are freaking out.
But yeah,
anyhow,
that whole scene was
Roy Batty in the novel, he was so emotionless, he would have just let Deckard drop from the rooftop, like he didn't care. And Rutger Hauer's version of it, he goes and saves him, and that makes you think like, well, shit, you know, they've evolved to a point where they value life.
Yeah,
this movie was going to get lambasted no matter what, because the outcome of Roy Batty saving Harrison Ford was already in the script from Hirschner, or whatever her name is, the main script writer on this. But Roy Batty, they'd been like having problems with this movie and getting just shots down. And so what happened was Rutger Hauer goes back to his trailer like at 2:00, and Ridley Scott's fucking exhausted. At like 8:00, he's got to turn in at 8 a.m. he has to turn in all the work.
Hi, Bruce. Hi, Janet.
Hello.
How you doing, hon?
It's my Aunt Deb.
Has she seen the movie? She doesn't think I'm a nut.
No, she doesn't think you're a nut. She thinks I'm a nut.
No, I know you're a nut.
No, you don't know that I'm a nut. I'm adopted. Remember, you guys found me under that rock.
Where's the nut?
Hampton
It's not in the pantry. It's in the garage on the shelf.
Hampton Fancher has been having like problems getting the final script down, and it was not coming together for Rutger Hauer. So Rutger Hauer goes back to his trailer at 2 a.m. and writes this little soliloquy. I've seen things, and Jordan Cronenweth is not doing too good. He's got Parkinson's, and at the start of the film, he was having a hard time getting around. Now he's in a wheelchair, and he's really having a hard time getting around. This is a 4-month shoot, and in span of 4 months, the guy has almost no mobility. He's turned into Pike. Okay, so when Rutger Hauer gets back, he does the scene and he lifts Harrison Ford up off the side of the building, wrap, cut, print, amazing film, and everybody falls in love with Roy Batty.
Yeah.
The
thing
pharmacist
is
in the book is not so lovable.
it's because he, in the movie, he becomes human, basically. He made the decision just like Rachel's character did when she killed the other replicant to save him. Even though at that moment when she did that, she knew she wasn't a human. But her thoughts were human. You see, her feelings were human. So she evolved. So, so both of the characters, Rutger Hauer's character and Sean Young's character, both evolved past everything they had set out, thinking they were going to get when they made the replicants in the first place. The goal that the guy that died wanted was to make a real a robot that can evolve and become more human qualities, and it did. But the part that one thing I wanted to read was this thing I found. It said that Rutger Hauer came up with many inventive ideas for his characterization for himself, for the character of the role that he wanted to play. It said, like the moment where he grabs and fondles the dove before he let it go. And he also improvised on now iconic line, all those moments will be lost in time, like tears in the rain. And then he said he later chose all those moments as the title in his autobiography. So this was a very moving role for him, and he was he really liked playing this character, and he turned down so many roles. I was really shocked when I was reading about how many roles he turned down, because he took roles that he actually liked and that he wanted to portray, not just for the money. He never.
That's one of the reasons why I like Rutger Hauer is,
me too.
He's an excellent actor, and he doesn't just take anything for a paycheck. He wants to put out quality stuff,
and
to perfect his craft, and also for the posterity of history. Like, it makes sense.
The sad thing is that Rutger Hauer died in 2019, right? In real life. And in the movie,
after a long-ass career of great film and television,
died in 2019 too.
Oh God, Simpsons.
That?
The noticing.
So, because the character in the movie died in 2019, is the year that supposedly was going on, and then in real life he died the same year that he died in the movie. So I thought that was interesting. Is
this the part where I start doing my diagram with all the yarn and the conspiracy theories, and then I start talking about the novel and the movie? Because I could do that.
If you want, I mean, if Bruce is ready to do that. The thing is that to me, the part where he goes in thinking she's already dead because he knows that they want all of them dead, and he goes into his apartment and he's calling her name and she's not replying, and then he goes over and he lifts up the blanket and she's laying there, and he puts his head down and puts his face next to her face to see if she's warm. I just thought that was very romantic to me. That was very human. You know what I mean? So I liked it. I thought their relationship was really good. It was evolving just like everything else does. Not everybody's like gung-ho from the moment they meet somebody and they can do everything just perfection. Most people like me, I'm very awkward. I stumble with my words. I don't know exactly. And I fidget with my hands. As you can tell, I'm fidgeting all the time. That's just my personality. I'm not a person. I may be I talk a lot. I'm not embarrassed to dress up and look like a goofball in front of other people or make people laugh. I have no problem with that. But when I'm a one-on-one with someone and I might have feelings for them, I get very nervous. And I'm like, oh does my breath smell good? You're thinking all these things to make sure that you're not going to ruin the moment when something does happen. If it does, you want to be there. And that's what I got from these two characters. I didn't think it was bad chemicals or whatever. I thought it was very, I thought it was sweet and very, I don't know. She was too old. Basically, her characters was too old to be like a teenage girl who never had a first kiss. But basically, that's what she was. Okay. Her character was a robot that was just born.
Well, she had like childlike implants too, the memories. So
yeah,
it
but
was
she's never been
kind of weird.
into the adult realm of sex,
Yeah.
making out, orgasms, none of that stuff. She's never had any of that. So all of this relationship stuff that she had with Harrison Ford's character was brand new. So she was awkward because of that. And he was awkward from what I could tell, at least from my perspective of the movie, was because she was not even human. And how could he feel this way about a robot? And he's been killing them for how long? Okay, so the whole thing was totally awkward for him because he had totally different feelings for one replicant after he's killed all these other ones. But she killed another replicant for him. See, so the circumstances to me, I'm not going to take anything away from that, because to me that was one of my favorite parts of the movie, is the fact that at the end when he walks out and he sees a unicorn on the ground and he picks it up and he realizes that, and the grin that comes across his face, that he's happy that he's going to get to be with her, at least until
You will probably not like Rachel as much in the novel.
I probably wouldn't. I'm going simply straight from what I learned from the movie.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'll shut up.
She is nothing like Sean Young's character in the film.
Nope.
She's a psychopath, vindictive. There's a part where she kills Deckard's pet out of spite.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad then.
And that also coincides with another part in the book where there's a bunch of androids or replicants, and they're torturing a spider. And J.R. Isidore, or Sebastian in this case, the Sebastian character, he's freaking out, and they're looking at him like, why are you acting that way? We don't understand. And they're, messing with the spider because they don't know anything about the spider's physiology or that it's a living thing. And, you yank off legs and you're torturing the thing. Mm-hmm. They have no concept of it.
Yeah, they
well, you get that a little bit at the beginning, where when he's doing the thing and he says, you're walking through the desert and you look down and you see a tortoise. He's like, what's a tortoise? And then he says a turtle, and he goes, oh, and then he goes, and it's laying on its back and it's struggling to turn over, and you're not going to help it. And he goes, why not? See, that whole thing gets you to realize that he doesn't have the understanding that it's going to die. In
the future, with the book, it's like 80 or 90% of all wildlife is gone. So that's kind of a nod in the film saying, okay, life is extremely rare on Earth, or that he's like the masses that have been affected by the dust with their mental capacities. So maybe he's just uneducated enough to understand what a turtle is. Maybe he heard about a turtle, but he's never seen one or anything. Maybe he read it somewhere.
Yeah.
And then there's the references in the book are kind of pre-computer Wi-Fi, like the Homeo page.
Did you ever play Paranoia, the RPG Paranoia?
Yeah.
Okay, for those that have not, there's an RPG where everybody wakes up in their little cloning booth, and before you're out of the cloning booth, friend computer tells you, hi, I'm your friend computer. I'm your best friend. I'll help you out. I'll do everything I can for you. And you're going to go and do these things, and here's the directives you have to live by. But other than that, enjoy your life. And everybody's released like that. well, there's other things the computer tells you and such, but the computer in the book, or the overwhelming authority in the book, feels like this huge dystopian AI that really just should never
Crazy
be around
computer.
authority whatsoever.
The hit malfunctioned for however many centuries, and now it's basically using the clones as pawns. Going after mutants and commies, and anyhow, that could be a whole other conversation.
I've got to applaud the guys at Fallout 3 or whoever it was that made Liberty Prime, the robot that believes in capitalism. Okay, because they actually read good sci-fi, not like
Mhm.
not like.
I just wish Fallout 3 had stuck with the aesthetics of 1 and 2, but that's neither here nor there. We should get back on topic.
Anyway, the book has so many. The novella, the short story, has so many different changes that we could go into a 4-hour dysentery. Not dysentery. 4 hours of discussion of the differences between Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep versus movie Blade Runner. John Isidore is kind of a fun character. He's not really well thought of, nor is he. I don't even know if he's like.
Well, he's a chicken head, and
he's
how do you like
damaged?
Wrap your head around damaged goods like that? Like you're like, okay, this guy's special.
He's a product of the environment. Like it's a post-war.
You feel sympathy for more than adoration.
Yeah, and that's just how I feel towards him. His character's transferred.
He's a handicap ambulance driver.
Yeah, he's in the movie. He's basically the guy with Methuselah syndrome, played by Larry from Larry, Daryl, and Daryl.
Yeah, they made it sound all cool with Methuselah syndrome instead of calling him a chicken head.
You know what? I'm going to have to start using chicken head every time I feel like dropping the N-bomb on people. Fucking chicken head. And then people will be like, what the hell? Did he just call me
Oh, God.
Head? Okay.
Then the ADL will ban the word chicken head. Oh.
Yeah, I know. That's how it always is.
Whatever. We'll just fuck up the dictionary.
So
be it.
The way that he kills Zora, I can appreciate that after she just beats his ass. Like, she is a murder bot. Leon is a labor bot.
She is a political assassin, and he could have been X'd long time ago. She was just toying with him.
Yeah, she's not really doing a whole lot to him. She does like 3 strikes on him, and that's it. She doesn't like stay on him. She fights him like a WWF wrestler. She does 3 for show hits, and that's it. Somebody that is, in my opinion, a political assassin. If she really meant to do business, she would have grabbed that neck of his with the tie, and she would have continued to twist until it was purple, and then his lips turned blue. And it would have been like the best 45 seconds Harrison Ford ever had, and that would have been it, because it's Joanna Cassidy, topless, choking you. All right. Mr. Carradine,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
she could have killed him in seconds if she wanted to. So, some of the damage that supposedly at the part where the very first replicant that gets shot by Sean Young's character, he could have snapped him like a twig. So the whole thing was that right there plays along with what other people would say later on, that he was a replicant because he was tougher than what people thought.
Well, I mean, if
you wanted to say
Deckard
that
is a replicant, then I will say that he does have a lot of hit points, because Leon does do some impressive throws on him. But Leon is a labor bot.
3 or 4 times.
Go ahead. What?
He got the crap beat out of him 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
The part where Pris got her thighs around his neck and she's about to break his neck and she flips him over, she could have killed him like that.
Deckard's got a high constitution. He failed some roles, but those critical saves that he had to do, he scored.
The thing is that some of it was a little bit over the top fact that these were people, they can stick their hand in boiling hot water. They can go in a freezer and not die. You know, and they can, you know, beat the crap out of them and they'd live. But a couple bullets to the chest and they die. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's just, to me, it was too many wishy-washy areas there that didn't make sense, considering that these were assassin bots. Basically, the one with the snake woman was an assassin bot, and she died pretty
it's
easily.
not unlike the dog bots that you know, MIT and those others are making. You know, you can strap a machine gun on the damn thing and it will hose a shopping mall if you let it loose in there. But you throw some grit into its gears, or splatter it with a balloon full of oil and sand on its cameras, and it's pretty much ineffective. It can't see you, and then you can go and kick it over and rip out its battery. I think I posted that information in your Discord somewhere.
Yeah,
If anyone
but
was
just like I
interested
said
in that.
about Pris, is supposed to be, when they were talking about, she was a pleasure bot, basically. So if she's a pleasure bot, then why is she bouncing around like a gymnast? You know, so I guess that in case if a guy wants a gymnast to jump on the bed and land on him or something, I don't know. You know, I just, some of it was just kind of dumb. You know,
All we need now is the robot to look in the mirror going, "Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, like that one guy from Buffalo Bill, you know, the one that was skinning women, and he's looking at himself, talking to himself with his, you know, his junk tucked between his legs. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't make any sense. Some of it was just, you know, but I had to watch it 4 times before I started noticing some of these things.
Yeah, it was like the first time that I saw the movie Akira, the Japanese animation. I picked that up in '89 on VHS. 30 frickin' bucks.
These robots that you're showing, are they?
It took me three viewings to figure out what the hell was going on, and then I found the comic, and it made more sense.
Yeah, you have to read the comic to understand it. If you want to watch it the first time and understand it, otherwise you're watching it like 3 to 5 times just to get the whole story, because it's really good, but there's a lot there.
Yeah. Speaking of which, so get back to my notes now that we've discussed the movie and hit all those cool key points. So the working titles were Android or Dangerous Days. So how the hell did you get to be Blade Runner? Well, you may ask. Hampton Fancher, or is it Fancher? I don't know how you pronounce that. Okay, Fancher.
Yeah.
He had the book Blade Runner, or The Blade Runner, and suggested the title to Ridley Scott, and Ridley's like, oh yeah, you know, they were going to make a movie of it back in like '79. William S. Burroughs, the writer and visual artist, well known for Naked Lunch, he was going to make a movie of the Blade Runner, which is another awesome story, dystopian future. Think of universal healthcare, but with the clause, in order to get this healthcare, you have to be part of the eugenics program. So we can euthanize you, we can neuter your kids and whatnot. So like those that qualify for healthcare get like basically full coverage. The poors and people that don't want to be neutered, yeah, they have to go to underground doctors, and the underground doctors get all their medical supplies from these Blade Runners who run the black market medical program. So this guy, Billy Gimp, who has a clubfoot, thus the name Gimp, he's a Blade Runner, and he runs supplies, and basically, you know, there's a plague in the town, and the city's going to end up dying from this. So he's trying to save the city, doing his illegal stuff while dodging the law. And it's kind of like Canadian healthcare kicked up to 11.
Yeah. Well, you have the Blade Runner book, and then you have the movie change name, and then there's two other movies that were released in 2002 that are Philip K. Dick novels, and both of them feature a lot of
Imposter and Minority Report.
Yeah, and both of them have a lot of like underground medical care shit that has to be done with cash. You have to do that, otherwise you're not going to make it within the system.
Yep.
So I mean that's just, you know, science fiction got it right. I hate to say it, but you know it's
it's now all marshmallows and rainbows.
Yeah, he had to think of what to do before he killed Ripley. I want to like this movie a lot, and after watching it 2 times in the last 24 hours, granted I watched the opening, the teaser, the theatrical happy ending trailer versus the final cut, and then I need to find a way to, I'll have to get those novels. So I read the book Edge of Human back in 96 or 97. And that is a sequel to the Blade Runner movie. But
I'm going to make note of that because I don't think I've read that.
Yeah, Edge of Human's really good. There's 3 other books in the series, I think. But Edge of Human is really fucking cool because the city speak and all the talk and the distinction between the classes and the people that do have wealth and property versus the individuals that really don't. It's still starkly there. I like how that. Say again?
Which it should be. It should just continue from where the first left off.
Like this movie doesn't really deal with the dust that much. I mean, you can tell that on the ground level.
It's gritty and nasty, and people are, you know, it's your typical big city filth, but you don't get the oppressiveness and the severity of like this. It's not Soylent Green.
Like when we're watching the making of on this movie, Ridley Scott says this movie, we had to think that there's a complete reason as to why you have all these generators and everything on the ground, and that's because at some point we can't build out anymore from cities. We have to go and we have to knock things down and level it. Then we have to build a building from the outside in, and from the outside in, that's where we have our generators, our heating, our cooling, our HVAC supply, and we do that on the street level. And then we pump things in, and the higher elevation you live, the further you are from that crap. And so, like, when you look at the street cafe's just got pipes on the fucking ground as the customers are walking all over it. Mind you, there's a lot of details in this movie that we don't see because the camera doesn't zoom in on it. They have a fucking set of parking meters in this movie that have been refitted with these covers, which have a lot of little decals that have been aged on them with things like shock hazard and other stuff, because at one point the parking meters went from coins to maybe a fingerprint to something else, and now whenever you park in front of that, you're supposed to use whatever currency they have, but people will invariably try to get around from not doing such a thing, and so they would have the warnings for you being a piece of shit listed on there, and all of these are on each and every fucking parking meter that's shown in the movie. But it's like the size of this figure, 28 millimeter. The camera never zooms in that far, but that's just the level of dickishness that got Douglas Trumbull.
That's the immersion for the actors and the extras.
Yeah. That's to help.
And we messed up.
Not really to help us, but it was really cool.
But that's awesome that they went into that much detail.
Good night, Kronos. Have a great evening, sir.
Yeah, Kronos, have a good one.
I love all the detail in this movie.
That's epic.
This movie is like the best chocolate I'll ever eat. There's not another.
The use of neon was awesome.
Say again?
Because that was the whole aesthetic, the neon
Mhm.
lights, the over industrialization. Like, it's like the 80s on steroids.
And I would prefer if my cyberpunk stays like this, if it never changes from this. In fact, William Gibson left the movie at the theater 20 minutes into the movie before Zora, I think before Zora gets killed. He leaves and he's like, I've already got this shit in my head, but I don't need to see somebody else's version of it. I need to go write Neuromancer. And that's what he went and did.
That was an awesome book.
I never read all of it. I read part of it, and then like I could never beat the game, so I just gave the book and the game back, because when you bought the game for the Commodore, they gave you a copy of Neuromancer.
Mm-hmm.
So it was beyond me because I was 13.
In the books, was it like very detailed, the details about the city and stuff like that? Because that was one of the things that I looked up, and it said that the director said that the way that they did the city, the details for the movie, they called it layering, and he said it was a complexity of for how they stack things on top of each other, like having a certain view from behind and then stuff in front of that and then stuff in front of that to give it depth, the way when you were looking through the camera to see it. And then he said that they wanted you to see how hostile it was to be in the cities and stuff on there, and that he said that the signs, like on the sides of the bus and stuff, it would say driver is armed, carries no cash, and the parking meters say danger, you can be killed by internal electoral system if you try to break the meter to steal the money out of it, little things like that. And he said that's the detail though that they went into, that you'd have to slow down and go back and look to see things like that, the detail that he wanted for each section of the city that you went through, depending on where you went. I thought that was pretty good because, you see that when you go to town, you see, different stuff on signs about not parking here. It's 15-minute parking, all these different little signs that you wouldn't normally think of when you're watching a movie. But when you see all the little details here and there added to it to make it more futuristic, like, you don't have a thing that tells you if you break this meter, you're going to get electrical shock, things like that, which I thought was pretty cool when I was reading about it and thinking about what we were seeing in the view of what the city looked like. And even though almost the whole movie was at nighttime, you didn't really see the sun come up. You didn't see, it was always dark.
The retro futuristic aesthetic that they had, like the flight helmets when you're in the car.
Yeah, one thing that I thought was pretty different was the fact that
cryogenic outfit that what's his name was wearing.
Hong?
Yeah. The fur, it was fur coat plus weird odds and ends attached to it
to keep him warm, basically. I was thinking it was.
It wasn't like here's a bunny suit with insulation and Mylar. No, it was like here's a fur parka, but we got all these weird futuristic things hanging off of it, and it was like that's cool. That's more detail than just a sterilized lab suit.
And even the detail with the eyeball when he was holding it and moving it around, it looked like a real
practical effects.
Yeah, so the details in that aspect, if you look around the whole laboratory, that's all frozen over, but it's got equipment, and he's dilly-dallying around, through the lab, and that you're not be here and all that type of thing. I just thought the detail of it is what made it enriched every scene, because there was so much stuff to look around the room and see while they're having their conversation too. I thought that was really good. So I didn't know if that was in the book or not.
There's a lot of things that are in the book that it would lead you down other paths, Janet. One thing is that like he does this one job, and after he does it, like he has these thoughts like, "Am I a fucking android?" And so he does the void comp on himself just to check. And they kind of reference that with Rachel. Have you ever taken the void comp test yourself? Have you ever retired an android by mistake, or have you ever retired a human by mistake? And so he does the test himself in the book on himself, and just to put those fears away. And he's good. He's good, but he buys this goat for his wife. And I remember reading it like at the very end, like Rachel, when she came by Deckard's place, his wife was mourning when Deckard returned because Rachel had stopped by and killed their goat.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
like,
mind you, this goat is probably like tens of thousands of dollars, if not more.
Yeah, it was a real goat, not an android goat.
Yeah, he had an electric sheep. That's the title of the book. In the beginning, that he pretended was real, but he was trying to save up money to get that status symbol of real goat versus fake goat.
He wanted a real goat.
Who doesn't want a real goat?
I don't
They're
want
awesome.
a real goat. I fucking hate goats. Like my
Well,
buddies
the thing
hate
is,
chickens. I hate goats.
was
I
there
like the
grass?
fruits of goats.
I mean,
They
if you had
They
a
pee on themselves. They eat everything.
if you had a real animal, how would you
They're
feed it?
awesome.
In the future, I don't know how you would feed a fucking goat because
They're
you
like
can't
living
feed grass.
lawnmowers that are just
Yeah, but
total
grass
assholes.
grows? I mean, I thought you guys said there was like a
And they taste good.
radioactive fallout or something.
Yeah, the radioactive fallout, the dust, everything basically poisoned you. And so it was just one of those situations where, like, why are we still here? It's like I asked my friends in these poor little Appalachian towns that they don't have an Indian tribe to suckle on with a casino. Like, why are you fucking here? Like, there's nothing here. Move somewhere. There's jobs. There's better jobs. Go to Midland. Go to Midland, Texas. If you're destitute, Midland, Texas, go get your CDL. Go find a fucking company that says, I need a CDL driver. Everybody has the brother mindset out there. Like, have you got a CDL, brother? If you say yes, here's your tax information. I need you to have that. And be back here tomorrow with your work boots at 6 a.m. Thank you so much. And that's how Midland, Texas is. It's the thing that I don't understand why these people were still here. But in the book, which really we shouldn't talk too much about, Edge of Human, there's a scene where a bunch of people, and they might just be terrorists or they might be actually factual, when they scream the colonies are a lie, it's a eugenics experiment. But they do make a point that a blimp is going through the night sky and people on the ground on these buildings harpoon it and yank it out of the sky and then commandeer its PA system and let the city around it understand, like, do not get on that rocket for the colonies. You will die. There's nothing good up there either. And that's, mind you, Edge of Human is a sequel to the movie, which has very little to do with the book Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. Very cool. Very, very cool distinction there. But as far as this movie is concerned, I think we chat. If you have different ratings for different versions of the movie, go ahead, put your scores in the chat. 1 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 or A+. I don't care how you value the movie. I need to know, did you love it? Did you hate it? What's your score? And I think that's one thing we need to get started, because we're an hour and 43 minutes in this already.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Why did she kill his goat?
Because it's
She
Rachel.
was psychopath. She's actually a villain
Was she in love
in
with
the
him?
story.
And she was jealous because he didn't love her back? I mean, there was just no purpose for her. She just followed him around and killed his stuff. That's what I'm asking.
She didn't have emotions like in this movie here. She doesn't even try to really have emotions.
So does he sleep with her? Does he have sex with her?
I don't think he
what she
does.
just
I
killed him
don't
for?
remember that being a part. I remember he had a wife that he very much doted on.
Mm-hmm.
He really liked his wife. And so, like, he's got his wife's name's Iran, just to let you know. Rachel Rosen is the Rosen administration. The Rosen Association is the people that wants to have the Seattle police kind of drop the legal crap. Just go get the Blade Runners. Just go get the Yandees. Just go get that for us. And so Rachel Rosen is the host of all this, and she turns out she's an android. And so when Deckard is taking this information, he realizes the android is giving him all the information he needs, but he's not going to retire her. And so then he goes to location. There's a Rusky there, and it's the Rusky that's there actually turns out to be a Nexus 6 Renegade. And so Deckard kills it, then goes to the next target. It's an opera singer. And he goes backstage, and this is kind of where they adapted this for the movie, where Harrison Ford makes up that corny-ass voice, which he didn't need to do. I don't know why he did that voice, but Rachel has information about android physiology, and so she gives him all this. She's a very well-developed android. But at the very end of the story, I remember she kills a goat, because she is wanting to pretty much silence him because of the fact he knows so much about what's going on with the Rosen administration. And he's still part of the police department. He's still doing stuff for them. He's just the best one in the force that can actually kill the androids. And he actually kills 3 in one day, which sets a fucking record and gets him a nice bonus. But when he goes home to show off his wife is the one crying because the goat's been killed by Rachel. And so he goes up the side of a hill. He's got a wound. He gets hit by falling rocks when he climbs this mountain. And this is kind of reminding him of Mercer's martyrdom.
Yeah.
And when he goes on home, and as he's on his way home, before he gets in his little hover car, he finds what he thinks is a real toad, and he grabs it. They think that the toads are extinct, and he gets home, and his wife is there. She's a little bit better. And he goes to sleep after he gives her the toad, but they're both discover that, like, it's an android. It's a robot toad. Well, fuck. I'm tired. I had a hell of a day. And you know, Rachel, being what she is, she's still at large. She just stopped by and killed her goat. And so he goes to sleep, and his wife prepares. She's going to take care of the little electronic toad, because they had an electric sheep for many years, and we do miss having animals. That's the main plot.
It's just funny. I guess I need to read the books or something, because I never read them.
Hold on, I'll get you the.
Well, the thing is that
story.
The fact that we get from, it's the year 2019 still in the book.
I don't think it's 2019.
Okay, I'm just saying, and nobody wants a dog or a cat. They all want sheep and goats. It's just, it's just weird to me, that whole concept of that. I was just trying to understand why they all want something like that instead of a horse that they could actually ride. I mean, I don't know.
They hadn't paid the goat off yet, by the way, as well. If anybody wants to read this book or listen to the book, there's an animated version. There it is. And it's actually a lot of fun to read or listen to. I recommend everything that Philip K. Dick ever did. Not all the movies, because Imposter, while it's pretty interesting, it's got its problems, it's got a few faults in it, but we'll have to watch that together. Okay. Really, soy based Jeremy? Okay. Conroy Riker, how do you rate it? Sorry. Yeah, that was the reason. Rachel being Rachel. He killed off Batty. That was the one she took a lot. Good night there, LDG.
Good night. Are we rating the original movie or?
Whatever version of the movie you want to rate. If you want to rate them differently, you will. You'll rate them differently.
Mhm.
I thought it's Rachel Rosen, Admiral, because even Wikipedia says that.
Yeah, it's Rachel. They called her Rachel.
It's Rachel in the book as well. I thought Hillary was mentioned, but I don't think it's Hillary Rosen. I've got the audiobook right here. Listen to it in a bit. In a book on top of Rick's building, it's like a farm. All of his neighbors have barnyard animals. Yeah.
Okay. I still think it's kind of weird that everybody wants I mean, I have chickens. I can understand that, but in the future, and you have to pay lots of money for it. Why would somebody want a barnyard animal? I mean, you'd think they'd want, a kitty or a dog, I guess, because they want something that can give them milk or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's weird.
Can you milk a robot?
I guess maybe you could, but I mean, you would have to put ingredients in it for it to make you milk.
Then the question would be, would you want to milk a robot?
If you needed milk, I guess you would, and you felt like you needed to have a pet goat or a pet cow or a miniature cow or whatever else, you'd probably want to milk it. That's why you have it, right? I mean, why have a goat in the first place? What's it going to provide for you?
Lawnmower capabilities and meat, cheese.
Well, if you eat the goat,
But that's the real thing. Like a robot one, it's basically a pet, like a Tamagotchi or something.
Why would you pay all that money to have a real goat unless you're going to have one that can breed with a neighbor's goat and make your own goats to sell? You know what I mean? Something like that.
It's the status symbol. Like, since it's really rare, like that bullshit that they sell us every Christmas about, oh, go to Jared and get some diamonds, even though we use it for sandpaper and whatnot, and it's one of the most plentiful gems out there. But you get the fancy one with the highly crafted band on it, and somehow that is more precious than like a bajillion uncut diamonds. So it's all about status.
Yeah. Okay.
And society being structured with the elite having all the cool shit, the poor is not having anything, and then the poor schmucks trying to work their way to some semblance of I'm better than being street level.
Because I have a goat.
So yeah, robot goat, that's better than the dude that has the robot frog.
Yeah, Philip K. Dick was a heavy user of various items. When I talk about the books, I just found this out. K.W. Jeter was Philip K. Dick's friend, and so these are authorized and official. So when they've got the actual Blade Runner logo on them, and they reconcile the differences between the novel and the films.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Six Nations, what is your rating, sir?
Well, I've watched the shit out of the original. I've seen the director's cut with the narration, and it's kind of wonky, but it doesn't really affect my overall opinion of the movie. I love the shit out of the movie. I love the book. The book is a lot slower paced. They omit a lot of things like the organ device that you can dial in your mood. The weird religious subplot with Wilbur Mercer and the Mercerism movement, which you got to realize that this book came out in '68. So all of the stuff that we take for granted now from the 90s to now with the internet, cell phones, multimedia, as we know it, was a hell of a lot different back then. So like, what was it? Homeopape? That was the, you punch in what you want as far as your news feed because it's all personalized, and then it prints out what you want. Mm-hmm. Where now we have apps on our web browsers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with Cyberpunk 2020 with the screen sheets, like, oh, newsstand that prints out the news for you on a fancy dot matrix type thing.
Mhm.
In the future, woo. So where was I going with this? Yeah, there's differences in the novel, like pacing, that weird quasi-religious subplot with the followers basically jacking into the internet, so to speak, of their patron saint Wilbur Mercer, experiencing his trials and tribulations and feeling his empathy and emotions. It's kind of like jacking into MySpace and feeling the vibes of your friends in this weird congregation, futuristic cult thingy. The movie was awesome, in my opinion. It was way different than the book, but it was done well enough that I could look past a lot of stuff. Like, yeah, it would be awesome if one movie in the history of cinema could ever do justice to a story, but I've come to terms that that will probably never happen, or I'll be dead before that happens. I give this thing like an 85 out of 100. And if I could just bring up the corpse of my VHS tape and show it to you guys, that as confirmation of that rating, I think it would do it justice.
Mhm.
Janet.
Mhm. I would give this movie an 8 out of 10. I would have given it a little bit higher than that. I might have even given it a 9 if I hadn't found all the things that I found this time when I watched it, compared to the very first time I'd seen it, because of mistakes, trivial things. Like I said, why go through all the work to give these tests to these robots, basically, when all you had to do was stick their hand in hot boiling water or put them in a freezing room to see whether they start to die? It's to find out if they were human. There was other ways to do it without risking other people's lives, or to go through hours and hours and hours of questioning to find out if they were a replicant or not. So to me, there was just little things like that, which I thought were kind of this.
There's some jank to
Yeah.
it.
So
Like the moral lesson came from the replicants in the movie, as opposed to like
yeah,
what Deckard was going through. Like we lost that whole aspect
yeah.
in the book, and it didn't quite translate as well in the movie.
No.
Well, the fact that in the movie he wasn't married, didn't have a wife, and they gave her more of a personality, things like
The book,
that.
the pacing was a little bit more slow, but the ideas were more vibrant and fresh.
Mhm.
Like, if you can get past the slow pace, there's a lot of cool shit in that book. What was it? We lost the message that humanity was destroyed, or the humanity was in decline. The world was destroyed. Animals, in particular, were affected, and so that's why in the movie, when they mentioned the snake, is that a real snake? No, I don't have enough money for that. Like, that kind of hints at the seriousness of the situation. Like 90% of the animals just croaked due to World War III. It's whatever's left is remaining sign of prestige.
Yeah, but the one thing I didn't understand too was the fact that if there weren't any animals, was it because people ate them all, or is it because they died from disease? They
That's
didn't
not
say
explained in the movie. That's one of them.
If it was something from the environment, then how come the people weren't all dying? See, there was a lot of little gaps here and there this time when I watched it.
Well, I think that I can say something on that.
Okay.
In this movie, the people that we see on ground level aren't really in good shape. Like, let's look at the overabundance of the immigrants that are there eating noodles, or the young little mutated kids that are fucking with Deckard's car whenever he's parked on the ground trying to take hubcaps off. Looks like a bunch of mutant kids. It really does. And then you have all the stuff leaking out. You have the fucking steam being exhaled. You have the smoke belching out of stuff. You have all that crap. And so it does kind of go into it with the environmental storytelling, but you have to be kind of aware, like this is a post 60s sci-fi movie that's hit the cinema. And so there's going to be environmental themes here. And so they have them pretty rigidly. And they went really far with the higher up you go, the cleaner the environment gets, which is wonderfully provided with the earnest choice to show Eldon Tyrell's pyramid, where he controls the sun, and he can say how much light goes into his apartment. That's a flex that you don't really see in a lot of movies. But when you need to have somebody that's got uncompromising amounts of influence and power around him, that him lowering the shades to dim the sun, that was perfect. And I think it's amazing with how much they did with what they had. They don't go as far as I'd like them to, but they do a good enough job to where I'm happy.
One thing
as a viewer.
I wanted to see if you guys knew was the hotel that Sebastian was living in. Why did that hotel or the building they used seem so familiar to me? I tried to look it up and I couldn't find it.
It's been in a shit ton of movies.
Bradbury?
Yeah.
It's been
Yeah,
in
is that
everything.
what it was?
The Bradbury building has been in everything, Janet.
Yeah, it just looks so familiar. I was like, even though it was wet and dingy and they did a lot of things, it just looks so familiar. And I was like, I can't place this building, but I've seen it before. And I was like, and it was shocking to me the fact that you saw all these people in the streets, and the streets are dirty, you know, just like you see now. I mean, you see Zombie Land, basically, you know, poop and
I was gonna say
and all kinds of stuff in the street now.
There is a correlation between the book and the movie.
Yeah.
And reality, actually. So it's set in Los Angeles in a dystopian future, 2019. Industrialization, all that. It looks like shit. There's filth and poverty and overcrowding. The novel is based in San Francisco in a dystopian future, which mimics the current dystopian present of 2024 San Francisco.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. So to me, when I was watching it, I didn't get the feeling that we'd had a nuclear holocaust or anything like that. I just saw that it was a run shitty country. You know, it was just dirty and trashy, and people were just lazy. They want to clean up or whatever. It just seemed like it was an older city, but basically it was still trashy and dumpy and still run by the same crappy people. And the fact that the animals were gone, it was because people were just killing them and eating them because they were hungry. So to me, you know, people eat snakes, people eat goats. I mean, all the dogs and cats. I mean, they've been saying that people eat dogs and cats already in certain kinds of food, right? So,
yeah, my uncle can attest to that. He actually ate some dog while in Vietnam.
I had that in Spain.
I'm assuming if you cook it well enough, it's going to taste all right.
It didn't come. I didn't have any problem with it. I'll just say that. I had more problem with it trying to explain to my parents I ate dog.
Yeah, see,
Like
that was
sea urchin, I would have a problem with, because no matter what you do to it, it still tastes like gelatinous seawater.
Oh, I looked at this sheet. Why didn't I? Oh, I just didn't go far enough down, apparently.
Dog or cat probably would make pretty awesome tacos or barbecue or something.
So this movie, the Bradbury Building, it was primarily used for whatever it's got going on. It's a landmark now, but they showcase it on Wikipedia. The first thing they highlight is Blade Runner, but Double Indemnity, The Unfaithful, Shockproof, DOA, great movie.
Didn't they use it in Wolf?
What?
Wolf, the Jack Nicholson werewolf movie.
Hold on, I'm going through the 40s and 50s right now.
Oh.
Oh.
Good Neighbor Sam,
Yeah, it's in
China
Wolf.
Girl, White Cliffs of Dover, Indestructible Man, Caprice, Marlowe, The Night Strangler from 72, Chinatown, Cheap Detective, Avenging Angel, Murphy's Law, Midnight Cabaret, The Dreamer of Oz, 94's Wolf,
Yeah, I think
Lethal
that's
Weapon
why I
4,
remembered it. Oh, that could be that.
Pay It Forward, What
I never
Women Want, 500
Mhm.
Days of Summer, The Artist, and television series or in television shows and videos.
Quantum Leap.
Good
Yeah.
And so
God.
on and so forth, ad nauseum.
Well, it's amazing. Was when they were using this building for all of these projects, was the building not being used? Was it just an empty building?
It was probably
It's a
very
landmark.
little used
Yeah.
at that point. Like it was probably used to shit back when it was first built for a couple of decades, and then over time,
They probably
cost
made
of
more money using
rental
it for
space and whatnot.
Yeah, they probably made more money using it for that.
And so movies are like, here's a wad of cash. Let's take up a week of your time and or a couple of days, however long it's going to take for the shoot.
Before we go through the scores, I want to give thanks to my members and individuals that have shouted me out here lately. For those that are still here, Mr. Flady, Flady One Gaming, and LDG. If you watch this later, appreciate you guys helping out the channel as much as you have. You didn't have to. Do appreciate it though.
Solid dudes.
Yeah, you had addressed earlier. Can we address the Blade Runner title versus the Dream, Android's Dream of Electric Sheep? The William S. Burroughs wanted to make a film after the Alan Norse novel of Blade Runner, and that was William S. Burroughs that wrote that.
William S. Burroughs, I guess, bought the rights.
Okay.
Because it was Alan Moore who wrote the book in '74, I think it was.
I think it was
And
74.
then there was buzz going, hey, we need to make a movie. So William S. Burroughs, being a visual artist, bought the rights, kind of sat on it, didn't do anything with it. Fancher apparently was on set with the book in his bag or something like that, and he's like, oh, hey, instead of fiddling around with Dangerous Ways or Android or something generic like that, why don't we call it Blade Runner?
Sure,
Because
why
that
not?
was all awesome and mystique.
Mhm.
And so for 41 years, give or take, I've been wondering why the hell would they call it Blade Runner? And then, like, I just recently got a hold of the book not too long ago, so under 41 years.
Not bad.
And I read it, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. Another dystopian future sci-fi thingy. Good literature. Just had nothing to do with anything. It was an entirely different book, entirely different story, but it was sci-fi, and it sounded good.
Yeah, and the name, the sleeping sheep or whatever, was kind of a goofy name, don't you think?
It was an ironic mention because Deckard had the electronic sheep
Mm-hmm.
in lieu of his real life goat. So
Admiral Teague says, what's cool about the movie is that when it was about the time you'd wear out a copy of a VCR tape, a new version, a new cut would be released, and Ridley Scott would spin a new kind of insincere reason why he changed it.
yeah, he's been wishy-washy on a lot of shit.
Yeah, and everybody else, I forwarded the Red Letter Media Blade Runner video to Janet today because there's a really good point in there where they discuss, like, what the fuck are you doing with him being a replicant? Everybody in the movie production says, do not make Deckard a replicant. And you have Ridley Scott pointing back at him. I know what I'm doing. I'm a director. I've been a director for 41 years. I've been doing this business. I am the acclaimed director that did The Duelist, and I did Alien. I know what I'm doing. Deckard, you're a replicant. And then he
Ah,
swigs another. He swigs another giant mouthful of bourbon down. Soy-based Jeremy says 8 out of 10 on a serious note. John Roy Riker says only one I remember is the director's cut. Okay, that's fine. What's your score of it? That's all I wanted to really know. Did you like the movie? I hope you did.
It was good.
I
I
liked
missed
it a
most
lot.
of the movie. Being sick, but from what I saw, this is a 6.5. Let me know, Flady, if you need to. I'll try to get you a cut of this on the web. We'll watch it again.
When we were watching it in Discord, I told Bruce I was very shocked how quiet everyone was when we watched the movie, because normally we're all talking or making comments or whatever about it, or laughing or whatever. But it was like we were all so enthralled to get to watch it again that it was like a church. You know, it was just so quiet. I couldn't believe how quiet we were. We did really good getting to watch it, because we were all just, mesmerized by it. So
It was totally different than my experience with Mission Impossible, because that movie was so bad within a few minutes. My friends and I were just cracking jokes the entire time. This movie, like, you get drawn into it, and even if you don't really like it that much, it's not one of those things where you're just going to be razzing on it. It's going to be visually impressive, or you're going to like something about the story or the actors. So, yeah, it was kind of cool watching a movie in silence. Normally we chat about stuff, but like next thing I know, it's over, and it's like, wow,
yeah,
we
it seemed like it was really
just
fast.
watched the entire thing and didn't say nothing.
Was the movie? How long was it?
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
1 minute shy of 2 hours.
It went by really quickly. I thought it was. I just was really. It was just really nice to get to watch it again, because it was like like I forgot all about the little unicorn being on the floor for some reason, and that the matchstick had a penis. All that different stuff.
He's trying to fuck. That's what he wants.
I know, but it was still.
Just
It
lonely.
was
Wants
still
some fuck.
funny.
You could read into that a couple of different ways, like what Bruce has pointed out.
Yeah.
It was little psychological nudges, like, I know what's going on.
Well, see, that's one thing. Someone had made a comment about that, about the that he had to be a replicant, because how else would a replicant, if he weren't a replicant, he wouldn't have found the other replicants, stuff like that. And I'm like, that's not true. You have dogs, specially trained dogs, that are able to find fox or
there's no dogs.
Or, bulls.
There are no dogs. There are no cats.
Bears, all kinds of animals.
That's where I posited the theory, like, screw Ridley for ever putting any sort of notion, or the internet for that matter, fuck the internet, for starting this whole, is Deckard a replicant? Because you could easily pick up some dude's file who worked at the precinct, although in the book he was a mercenary bounty hunter type, getting paid per kill. If he was a former cop and they brought him back in, he's got to have a file. You go and check out his psych evaluation, his performance record, whatever, disciplinary actions, all that, and you can figure out, okay, this guy might have an attitude problem, or he's got substance abuse, or whatever bullshit human people have.
Yeah.
So Gaff, being the detective that he is and doing his due diligence, he could be doing little subtle nudges to him. Hey, stop dicking around. Stop daydreaming. Do the job.
Yeah. For sure. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really good. It was a good choice.
Definitely.
For us to watch it. And I thought it was really good. I forgot how good it was. I get to watch it again. Even though I found a couple things that were awkward to me that kind of stuck out. The more I thought about it, I was like, why that didn't, it ruined that for me because I didn't notice it the first time or the second time I watched it. So.
And if I'm making anybody in chat nauseous with my moving around, I apologize, but my garage is like 30 degrees and I'm barefoot in shorts and my feet hurt on the pavement. So I got to keep them moving into the carpeted area where I can take a moment. Anyhow, I digress.
Conroy Rikers, it says it's an awesome 80s movie. Admiral Teague says it's a really good movie, but it's a better discussion. To be honest, they've really muddied the waters with all the various versions. You could debate this shit all day.
I concur. We could do a 6-hour just Q&A roundhouse discussion on this, and it would be awesome. But it would also suck up all of our time. So
yeah, that's why I'm glad that I only have the one movie to go by. And everything that I talked about my feelings about the characters and everything is just based on the movie. That's it.
I tell you what, when the government comes and kills the internet and we all have to go down to Texas or Arkansas or wherever the hell we're going to end up having our commune, we can totally have a town hall meeting and discuss all these key points of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Blade Runner, and a shit ton of other stuff.
Sounds like a good idea. The replicant, the comment that Teague just dropped in there, I'm laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me.
You know he's a replicant because Gaff knows what he dreams of in one full version of the movie. I've been in your dreams. I've been in your file. I know that when you get drunk as shit, you just sit in there and muddle about fucking unicorns, you stupid schmuck. So take your stupid replicant girlfriend, and you got a head start on me. I'll let you have a few days.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that thought. Because
Yeah.
Gaff could be that much of a dickhead. And then don't forget the whole fake police department of replicants from the book. Yeah. All there's everybody on Earth is fucking replicant, damn, or Andy for the most part. Deckard's the backup Blade Runner, and Dave Holden. He was good. He was good at his job, and then Holden got aired out. Sucked.
So in the book, though, do they only have short lifespans too?
It looks like it.
Okay,
I don't remember them talking about that.
If somebody was to just show up on Earth, they'd probably find most of the planet dead, all laying there.
I gotta run and get my notes
because
before we close down the show.
Because they were all replicants, and there was only very, very few real people, on the planet.
It's all nice and warm in here now.
Robots. So that would be believable, right? From the premise of what the stories in the book was, there isn't very many humans that are real humans.
So, we've got Philip K. Dick focused on animals rule in the New World and how they almost became more important than humans.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I'm looking for. Which one of these damn pages was it? Blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Here we go. So in the film, Rachel is loving. In the book, she's, crazy bitch. Killed the poor goat out of spite. According to PKD, the robots can never empathize with others. That is the key difference between man and machine. In his own words, the replicants are deplorable because they are heartless, they are completely self-centered, and they don't care what happens to other creatures. And to me, this is essentially a less than human entity for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
That pretty much says it all for the replicant theory, I think. Because Deckard shows that he's human. He tests himself.
Yeah.
He, in the movie,
The latest empathy test.
he has sex with a walking, talking machine, and if he didn't have any horniness in him, he'd probably be a replicant. Where a replicant doesn't get horny; they just do their function.
Okay, so that's why, if that's the case, then that's why the awkwardness of Rachel wasn't because of anything except that she's a replicant. She doesn't want to have sex. She doesn't even. Why would she even have the parts to have sex if they don't have a sex drive? I mean, that doesn't make any sense, does it?
No.
To be
Well,
treated
he
like a
was
woman.
programmed with the personality and memories of Tyrell's niece.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
she died at a young age, though, so we have no idea what she was like if she had boyfriends or not.
she could have been emotionally
Like,
stunted,
8 or 12.
and that whole crummy
Yeah, what
love
I said
scene.
when I first watched it, when I was talking about it, from what I saw in the movie, that's what I felt. But after everything you guys have said now, so now, maybe she didn't have a sex drive. Maybe that's why she was supposed to act like she was very awkward and stuff, because she was like, why are you going to do this to me? I don't want to do this. She has no urges. So,
Deckard didn't find the G spot. That's the problem.
well, see, I felt very romantic. I thought it was a budding romance between the two of them, because she's new to all of it. And, and he, after he he's intrigued by her. So whenever you're like intrigued with someone, you want to get to know them more. And if you spend enough time with someone, sooner or later, you will fall in love with them.
I don't like sand.
That kind of
It's dark and grainy and gritty and it gets everywhere.
Well,
Let's talk about politics and get all upset. Yeah. And this is how I married the hottest girl in the galaxy.
Sorry.
I know, but I'm just saying, that's what I felt at the beginning when I watched it, was that it was a budding romance.
Yeah. Roy Batty is married in the book. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Denise might be out there in the novel, but in the story for the movie, she's been killed. Fancher,
the replicant was married. Is that what you're saying in the book?
Yeah, Roy Batty's married in the book. The robots do have sex drives. Replicants
Okay, but he married a woman just to fit into society, so people wouldn't know he was a replicant.
No, I think it was so he could have a place to put his robot sperm.
Okay, I thought.
Yeah, I should clarify. The replicants don't have empathy.
But they can make babies?
Nope.
Oh.
Not supposed to.
They can simulate it. They can go through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
They can go through the act of sex, but actual procreation.
So him marrying this woman wasn't because he had feelings for her, it was just to fit in as a human.
Yeah, the androids are almost human, but they lack the empathy to be fully believable.
So they're like
narcissists. You got all the weird little idiosyncrasies that
so they're like sociopaths.
Set them off as not. Yeah, they can be sociopaths.
But they have to be. If none of them have empathy, then they are sociopaths.
They don't have the capacity for empathy, so they completely are sociopathic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So basically, we have real ones. So maybe we really have replicants.
From a human standpoint, yeah, they could be sociopathic, but they're just machines that are emulating humans.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't ever be humans. And that's the distinction between humans and the androids or the Andes in the novel.
Yeah. There's a huge gap between the novel and the movies. I'm not going to rate the novel because I need to reread it all the way through before I do that. As far as the theatrical version of this movie is concerned, I'm going to give that version of the movie a 90 out of 100 because this movie, it it made me get into miniatures and prop design and all sorts of weird shit. That I've done some props for small stupid stuff around Corpus Christi before. When I worked in the oil field, there was a guy that he had a nephew that he was doing some small stuff on YouTube out of San Diego, Texas. So I did some miniatures and miniature work for that, and it turned out pretty good on the just like a 45-second commercial. We were doing a model train set, and I did that paint work and assembly on that. So I can see like where Blade Runner really impacted my life, because it made me want to get involved with this stuff, and I want to do more. I really want to do more, but it's mainly the theatrical release gave me such hope for things because I wanted that future. And I know that sounds disgusting for a lot of people. I want a cyberpunk dystopian future because at least we know things that are going on, and you can see exactly who the branding is by. You have an idea of who's paying for what. Things are a lot more clear, it looks like, even though things are muddled as fuck with the humanity. At least the fucking replicants tell you what the hell they want, and they will go to extreme lengths to try to attain them. But I honestly feel that the theatrical version is the most reliable, happy version because it does have a happy ending. It does have the omission of any Ridley Scott bullshit for the unicorn or Deckard's a replicant or any falsehood like that. And it led into the Edge of Human novel really well, a lot better than the director's cut does, or a lot better than the international cut does, a lot better than the fucking final cut does. And there's supposedly 7 versions of the original movie out there floating around, only one of which I give a shit about, even with its bad narration and oh my god, it says the N-word in it. I would much rather have that than what we live in right now. I would be completely happy if that's our future. I like the neon. I want the Atari and Pan Am on the side of the buildings. Yes, those are 2 corporations that have died, basically. Atari still lives, supposedly, with some game publishers, but it's not really Atari anymore. William Bushnell's
Didn't it get bought out? Didn't it get bought?
It's evolved into a different company.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Different people have gotten back into it. You have so many cool things in the theatrical version. And then when you start getting into the other stuff, like it drags the score down a bit. Like the final cut we watched yesterday, I'm rating a 75 out of 100 because, okay, Ridley, I'm going to believe your horse shit that Deckard's a replicant, but I don't believe a replicant would get his ass beaten by a labor droid. Stop fucking with me like that. This is supposed to be the best in the business, and he killed 3 fucking androids in one fucking day. How are you fucking telling me that Deckard's a fucking replicant? And the unicorn scene from fucking Legend, I didn't need to see that. I don't really give a shit if you want to omit the happy ending. Go fuck yourself, Ridley. Not only did you fuck up Blade Runner, you fucked up Alien. The only good thing about Alien Covenant is a scene where Jesse Smollett properly gets gacked. That's it. That's the only part of that movie I fucking appreciate, because I fucking hate Jesse Smollett after all that bullshit that stupid little half-white piece of trash did. Okay? Go fuck him into a garbage dumpster, because that's where he fucking belongs. And you know what? Prometheus sucked too. Both of those movies should have never came out. They're about as good as Alien Resurrection.
Well, I'm going to start off the new year by not pissing off Clancy, my FBI handler. I will just say what I have to say about Jesse Smollett, or Smollett, will not pass for flowers. And this is no way of me inciting racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, ageism, ists or isms. This is just me saying, don't do anything stupid. Obey your local laws, federal laws, blah, blah, blah. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Well, I thought it was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. It was very entertaining. If you're into sci-fi and you know anyone who hasn't seen this movie, I think you should recommend them watching it. They'll be really surprised of how futuristic movie that was based in 2019 basically really resembles what the
The
city's
future
looking
that
like
could
right
have
now.
been had COVID
Mhm.
and our shitty government
Well, the
and all
zombies
their
in the
little
street,
quizlings.
you have people walking
Fucked it
through the
up.
street all hunched over and stuff that they're basically zombies, and the streets just
This
look
is
like
not the dystopian future I wanted. I wanted the flashy one with the
yeah,
mirror shades and the
who
chrome.
wouldn't?
I
But
could have gotten a cyber liver and gone drinking for 6 months straight and not have to feel any hangovers.
Mhm.
But no,
It's dirty and trashy, and people are taking each other out left and right, and that's what we have right now. So it's just really weird how they made this movie, and it was supposed to be the future where we have flying cars and all that stuff, and our cities look like that already. Not with the flying cars, but I mean with the trashy, dumpy, zombie, nasty people just wandering
yeah.
through the streets. It's just sad.
We got
And
the shitty end of the stick of the shitty dystopian future, which we all deserve.
yes,
And
yeah, for sure. Anyone who wants to live in those kind of cities, yeah.
like, I want to go to Mars.
Mhm.
I can't go to Mars. I can't have my brain scrambled in a freaking recall machine.
Mm-mm.
That sucks.
Mm-mm.
No, I gotta do a 9 to 5 and talk to some idiot who just can't figure shit out. And I can't explain it to him because he's an idiot. And that sucks.
Just like a replicant that doesn't know they're a replicant.
Give me robot killers and freaking mutants.
Mhm.
Give me
Well, all you got to do
Trouble
is go
comes to Frogtown.
Mexico
I would
or
rather deal with
LA,
mutant
you'll
frogs
see zombies.
than the shit that we're dealing with now.
Yeah. Hmm.
Damn.
I heard that Gladiator's getting a sequel. I don't know if it is or not. I don't give a shit. I'm done
That
with
what?
movies.
What's getting a
Gladiator's
sequel?
getting a sequel.
A third sequel,
A second version.
or they're doing a remake of it.
No, I think it's a sequel.
Okay. Because if it's going to be one of them Netflix types, yeah,
I'm
no
good.
thanks.
I don't need to see it because, like Ridley Scott fucked up Blade Runner, he fucked up Alien. I'm done watching him fuck up movies that he already did once.
How old is he now?
To where he needs to be in a home, drooling on himself, rooming with Joe Biden.
Well, then he probably won't be the one directing it then. So
I don't know. I don't have a
Stranger
lot.
things have happened. I don't know. Depends on who's going to be making it. Maybe, just maybe, because it's a new year, and I'm going to pretend that there's hope that somebody will go, hey, let's stop all this bullshit that we've had for the last 15 years, killing our culture and entertainment,
definitely.
and make something freaking good for once.
He's 86.
Damn, he could pump out one more movie, perhaps.
Yeah, but the thing is, when he made this movie, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So this was before the decline of movies, basically.
It's kind of like John Carpenter. John Carpenter is a great director as long as he's directing other people's stuff.
Berlin, Nobody, Alien Romulus, Gladiator 2. I have no idea what the fuck that is.
Ridley Scott was doing some pretty decent movies and then just kind of went and wandered off into the grass.
Well, it's probably because it's not really him. It's his name is on it, but it's his assistants or whatever. They're the ones that are making all the decisions.
Yeah, the politics of Hollywood.
So
whatever, the pecking order, hierarchy, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm. So that's probably why, you've seen such a dramatic change in things that he's supposedly getting done or working on. It's because it's not really him. It's the assistants,
Yeah. And my comment about John Carpenter isn't a knock on John Carpenter. I love his shit. I've watched almost all of his movies. I think there's one or two I need
There's
to
one with Amber Heard I'm going to
put him
skip.
back up. But yeah, he's a better musician.
I like Taboo, the TV series. Did you guys watch that?
No.
The guy that played, that his father's the one that wrote that script. Did you know that?
No.
Hardy's dad. Look at that real quick and see.
Chip Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah, Tom Hardy's father is the one that wrote the script for that
Okay.
show, and it was great. It's a really good show. I kept waiting for season 2, but I don't.
That
it
was
never-
Taboo, right?
yeah.
Yep. Taboo.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. He basically played Sykes in that.
Yeah, he did good too. But
And
he's a really good writer.
it was interesting. I was hoping that there was a sequel because
Yeah, me too.
it wasn't like the greatest program, but like once you start watching it, you get wrapped up into it.
Yeah,
And it
the
was starting to
characters
get really
are
good.
The characters
then-
are interesting.
In true television and Netflix fashion, they're like, oh, didn't get the ratings we wanted. We're just gonna leave everyone hanging blue balled. Sorry.
But it was good. I enjoyed it a
Looks
lot.
good. It really
And
looks good.
Pinky Blinders is really good too. Have you guys
Mhm.
watched it?
Not yet.
Yeah.
It's very
will.
good.
I haven't seen all of it. I've seen a couple of seasons from the
So,
beginning.
It
Um,
is really, really good. But I love
Yeah.
that era of clothing.
What was that? Like 2017 or something like that? That was
2018 when Taboo
2018.
came out.
Okay. Yeah.
2016 was when I started realizing that maybe we don't need to have Ridley Scott doing movies anymore, because I started seeing his thought processes about Alien Covenant, and I was disappointed because I didn't like Prometheus.
Prometheus kind of fell flat, and then I was thinking, okay, maybe he's going to redeem himself with the next one, and then that just sucked ass too. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stick
absolutely-
with the first 2 movies.
Yep.
And then if I want to laugh, I'll do
Well, see, all you
Predator
have to do
series
is
and stuff.
go back and watch the stuff from back when this one came out. You know, just go back
Yeah.
to the 80s and 90s and watch that stuff, and it puts you back into the realm where good stuff can be made. It's just that we got to wait until we get out of this realm that we're in right now with the wokeness.
Yeah, this whole
I'm gonna
shit
say
show
that-
has made me appreciate older programs. Like I'm going back to like stuff from the 70s that I barely remember as a kid in the
Uh-huh.
80s watching reruns.
Yeah.
So like the Hardy Boys and just funky sci-fi, and then I'll go way far out in left field and start watching silent films from the 20s, and then go into the talkies of the 30s. And I'm enjoying all of that more than I ever did in the last like 30 years. And I've been watching movies
Well, it's
practically nonstop since I was on my
After-
granddad's knee.
after you watch some of the new stuff and then you get to watch some of the older stuff, you appreciate it more because you realize the depth and the details that they put into it without trying to cram an agenda down your throat. You know what I mean? One of the movies that I've told Bruce that I wanted to watch and is called Wind River. And I can't wait to watch it because it's a really
What
well
month do you want to do that in, Janet?
whenever you want to do it, it doesn't matter to me. But it's Jeremy Renner, right? He stars in it. And I don't know if he'll be in anything anymore. I mean, I don't know how he's recovering or anything after his accident.
Well, nothing too physical, I would think. If
Yeah,
he's got any acting chops, he'll be able to pick himself up and do something that isn't superhero related.
and I
But-
would think that he's still in his 40s. He probably can get back on the saddle. He's just going to need to do like a lot of painkillers and some serious time at CrossFit. And if he can survive the CrossFit injury, Jim, then he'll be
Do
fine.
the Van Damme regimen.
Well,
Yeah.
Go pump out 3 movies and then go hit your doctor for painkillers and readjustment.
But
Yeah.
have either one of you seen Wind River?
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
well,
not
his
yet.
acting abilities in that I thought were phenomenal. I thought he did a very good job.
I
So
liked him
yeah,
in.
that-
Okay, here I am.
28 weeks later, I liked him in that.
mhm.
It wasn't like a great acting role, but he was using a Mini 14 or an M14. And at the time, I was
Mhm.
trying to score one before California made it
Yeah.
even more difficult to obtain firearms because a buddy of mine had just gotten back from Afghanistan and he had all of his gear. And while he was humping a radio, they had him
Mhm.
use an old uh, refurbished M14. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. So I was like watching all the movies I could that had the gun in it because it was gun porn. And I actually enjoyed him in that movie. And it was zombies. So, like, what's not to like about zombies?
I liked him in The Town. I thought he was great in The Town, and I'm one of those few people that's a vet, but I also enjoy stupid movies like The Hurt Locker or Three Kings. And I think The Hurt Locker was fucking great. I don't think it's a good, accurate movie of our military's EOD, but I think it's a fun movie to watch, and Jeremy Renner did a damn good job, I thought.
Mhm. I did. I think I just really like him. I think when he's just acting, he's good. If he's
I've-
got a good role, you know.
Whenever when he had full function of his body, he was going out and doing gigs, singing, and putting it on YouTube. He'd make videos. He
Mhm.
sing. I don't think he's like, a million. I don't think he's got like Taylor Swift riz, but I think he's got some chops to where I think majority of people that like good music would like to hear
He's
him
a
live.
good entertainer.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's in that
That-
crew.
Yeah, let's hope he doesn't get Taylor Swift status because there's certain governments, local governments in certain states that haven't figured out how to balance a fucking budget for 2023 since June, but they'll dedicate the whole year of 2023 and waste resources of taxpayers to Taylor Swift.
I've never heard him perform, like as a singer or anything like, or in a band.
Just do a Google on him. Just look at his YouTube page, Jeremy Renner.
Okay. I didn't
He's
know
no
he-
Tom Jones,
you know.
but he ain't bad.
He's very entertaining. I am looking at February 5th. We're doing the movie Overboard. February 12th,
Woo.
Blast from the Past, and then February 26th, Romeo and Juliet, the good one.
Oh yeah.
However,
13-year-old me is smiling. Oh yeah.
February 19th, we are doing Wind River.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. It's a good movie.
All right. With me saying that, yeah, you've heard. I don't think his movie is. I don't think his music is terrible. It's listenable. Okay, we have two tiers of music. There's stuff that's mass produced and mass purchased, like Taylor Swift and other shit. And then you have music, which is done by real musicians and such. Jeremy Renner is not in the second category. He's an entertainer. He sings. He's not bad. He carries a tune okay. He's not Lucio Pavarotti. He's not Joe Satriani. He's not a maestro. He's a guy that between movies he likes to pick up his guitar and play. I'm all right with that.
I can respect that.
Yeah, I can too. I mean, he's an even worse Bob Seger.
Well,
he
he likes to perform, and he enjoys performing for other people. And
Shit, I used to do karaoke,
so.
and
I think that's great.
I can't sing. I haven't been able to sing since fourth grade. Started getting into puberty and stuff, and it ruined my singing career.
It's the 1968 Romeo and Juliet. They're Admiral Teague. Like I said, it's a good one.
Olivia Hussey. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. I've been turned on to Olivia Hussey, so we're going to be watching some good stuff this year. Yeah, Russell Crowe's music is horrible too. I've listened to 9 Foot or 9 Meters Cut, whatever his little band was back in the early 2000s. I've listened to them a couple times getting drunk, and it wasn't that horrible. I survived. Okay, so next week we are watching a film called the McMartin Trial. It's called Indictment, the McMartin Trial. Our friend Flady1 suggested this, I believe. So we'll be discussing this, and on Monday night we'll be doing the viewing of it Sunday evening, like we always do, in the usual location. Janet will put that out for her people, and I'll put it out for my people, and then I'll just be in the room pretty much all afternoon that day.
Mhm.
McMartin Trial is what we're watching. It's a James Wood film, and it kind of has some ties to today.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. There's a lot of shit that's in this movie that's like, ooh, you really want to have that? Yeah, they get in the weeds.
Let's not give away any spoilers.
No. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely.
Hey,
It was an awesome show, and the chat was awesome.
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
you guys.
everyone who
YouTube's
came.
a little funky. Otherwise, I would have jumped into chat, but then I'd get the weird double YouTube post, and
Thank you for
weird
everybody
shit happens.
for New Year's Day with us, or for a few hours. I really appreciate it.
David Hasselhoff.
Hasselhoff.
It's big in Germany.
He's also big in Japan.
Oh.
But all of us in
And
America.
is he still going shirtless with the leather jacket?
The Hasselhoff is big on SpongeBob.
The Hoff.
Yeah, the Hasselhoff. Yeah, it's funny.
Let me find it real quick. Let me find it.
Damn it, now I got Knight Rider theme in my head. I know what I'm going to be doing for the next hour and a half on YouTube.
I just see him on SpongeBob SquarePants surfing with Patrick and SpongeBob hanging on him.
It reminds me of that meme. A picture can't convey sound, and it's a picture of Airwolf. And you automatically think of the Airwolf theme when you see it. Oh,
Oh yeah, that's just.
I'm not ready for that.
Who is it? Who's the kid? That's
Quick,
who's-
someone bear me.
Kung Fury.
I know, but who is it?
This is David Hasselhoff.
Oh, it's supposed to be David Hasselhoff fighting?
Janet, have you seen Kung Fury?
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
I haven't seen that. I've never
okay.
seen
Maybe we can do a twofer or something.
David Hasselhoff, that looked like a kid. Looks like a little kid. Not David Hasselhoff. Was that years ago? Or when was this made?
4 years ago, maybe.
Oh, okay. Whatever. Okay.
Yeah, I just put the link for True Survivor in chat. Oh, this is 8 years ago. But the funny thing is that this is like one of the first big synthwave songs that came out, and David Hasselhoff has been doing stuff like this. It's bad. So we talk about Jeremy Renner, we talk about, Russell Crowe trying to sing. No. Let me bring you David Hasselhoff. You guys are such a classy audience. Thanks for giving me shit. I appreciate you a lot. Catch Janet on her own channel, Janet from Another Planet, and find her on Twitter if you weren't brought here by her.
Mm-hmm.
I do appreciate everybody. We will be seeing you next week. David Sandberg is a Kung Fury actor, says Connor Riker. And there's, other than that, I believe this is where we sign off. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Be well, everybody.